all morning long that Bill is just taking a day off, as he will be on Monday. Don't freak out. I thought about this last night. I haven't been on the show since August before football season started. Bill has been here through all of football season. We've all got days we got to take off, because we don't get them to roll over after December. So a couple days here and there in the month of December that I'll be in for Bill, but don't freak out. He'll be back.
That is correct. That is correct. Bill will be back. He's taking a few days. I think the goal was to make it through the season.
Yes.
And as the season has waned and is finally over, I think Bills just gave out. He just needed a day to recover.
It's been a tough season. Now, Bills, to my knowledge, is not planning on entering the transfer portal.
A lot
of people have.
When people go missing and there's a little bit miscommunication, you start wondering.
So,
by all indications, he's still in.
We'll check Twitter later today and see if he's got a written statement. After much consideration, after talking to my family, I've decided.
With that being said,
respect my decision.
Respect the decision. Yeah, I Tyler, we've talked about this before. I just love that format, man. You can just put anything into that format. It's like Mad Libs.
It really is. It's a word salad of like, I love my time here, and like, I know I'm going somewhere else, but I'm still going to be a whatever mascot for life. And it's like, well, you're going to go play for somebody else. I don't know if it works that way.
To my brothers, the memories I'll cherish forever.
Thank you to the coaching staff and everybody that supported me and all that kind of stuff. Like, and I was Chris and I were talking about this the other day. Like, I'd really like to know who the first person to do that was, because that's a social media thing. And so it's only been going on for 12 to 15 years or whatever. Back when you were playing college football, we didn't know about guys transferring sometimes until weeks and months after it happened.
Yeah, they would have already been on campus.
Yeah, the coach had his next media availability. He's like, oh, by the way, this guy left our program 2 months ago. And it's like, oh, okay, news to us. But now it's literally even before guys make the announcement themselves, like, hey, this guy's going in the transfer portal. This guy's going in the transfer portal. And then we wait for the official confirmation.
And it's even interesting. It's interesting you say that, because even being in the building, because as I've said, the transferring has always been a part of college football. But when people were transferring way back then, you'd be like, yeah, man, I think I'm going to transfer. It's like, you sure? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm seeing how it's going to go. I got to go talk to coach.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at this school and this school. I got to set stuff up. And it would be this ongoing process, and finally be like, yeah, I did it. Or sometimes people you would go away for a semester, and then you'd be like, what happened to such and such? Oh, yeah, he's transferring.
Well, and back then, and even up until a couple of years ago, it was a serious decision to make, a serious commitment, because unless you were a graduate, you had to sit out a year. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, if I go to this school, I'm not going to get to play next season. Do I know that I'm going to have a role when the next year rolls around, that I'm not just going to get shoved down the depth chart or something like that, to where this is going to be a good decision for the future of my career? You really had to sit there and consider it. There was also the caveat of, hey, if I transfer out of here, this coach is going to give me this list of schools I can't go to, and there's going to be a lot of like parameters on where I can go and where I can't go. I really got to think about this, as opposed to now where the one-time transfer rule, it's like I can literally go anywhere that's willing to take me, play next year, and forget about this place that I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, when the rules change, things change. You always see the unintended consequences of a rule change, and you just can't anticipate that this is what it's going to be. You see it happen in this sector, you see it happen in all sectors of life, and it's like, oh, that's why people started doing X, Y, and Z. It's always interesting.
I always bring up the unintended consequences of every single rule change, every single major decision across all sports, but specifically with college football, especially when you're talking about things like transferring, because now we've got this wild, wild west, this free agency of the transfer portal that, like, the portal opened up on Monday. A week ago, 5 days before it even opened, we're here, hey, this guy's going to the portal. This guy's going to the portal. This guy's going to the portal, and he's going to this school. It's like, wait a minute. That's not how this is supposed to work. But again, we've all come to accept that that's how it does work, and that's just part of college football now.
Yeah, that's just where we are. That's the thing. So it all interesting. But Bill, as far as we know, he is still on board.
Now, again, keep your eye on Twitter in case he puts out a long, lengthy announcement. Thanks, everybody, for their time and, for the memories here. And he's pursuing other opportunities.
The time that I spent, never
get back.
Never can replace it. I always have a special place in my heart.
It's become cliche now.
Oh, it's
right?
100%. And, as you were saying, somebody with more time and energy than I have, I need to deputize somebody to do some research on it, because we can trace the phrase I'm taking my talents too. We can
Oh,
we
yeah,
can take that directly to LeBron, right?
And that is still referenced
and it's still
to this day.
We just heard somebody say it yesterday. Somebody I forget which clip we had, but somebody directly. But we know we can point to an exact moment in time when that phrase was first uttered, maybe for the first time in human history. Right. All of these other things have to have a beginning at some point.
They do.
Where did they start? We don't know.
I would really love to dive into this. I want to know, are there like people you hire to do this? Because let's look at this. These players most of the time aren't writing this thing themselves. There's a graphic designer somewhere that's obviously putting the collage together and crafting this eloquent Shakespearean paragraph about, the 1 year that they spent at this school or whatever it may be, and now they're going somewhere else.
The other interesting one that you hear is on the commitment side, and I don't know when this started either, but players started saying, for the next 3 or 4 years, I'm going to be at this university.
That was a big one. You see that a lot with like the All-American games. When they do the hat ceremony like before a commercial break, and I'm going to spend the next 3 years at LSU or whatever it may be, or the University of LSU. I think was that was that Leonard Fournette that said that?
Might have been.
I think it might have been. Somebody said the University of LSU. We're like, hey bud, you know what LSU stands for?
University of LSU. Yeah.
Well, and there's also on the commitment side, there's a formula to that too.
Of course.
To where when you receive an offer from school, something like thankful to receive an offer from, blessed to receive an offer from, like it's so very like cut and paste. There's no like uniqueness to it. See, I've always long said, and look, I have no idea what it's like to be a high level recruit for a D1 institution. If I was like a 5-star or something like that, my social media would have nothing to do with me playing football. I would be talking about literally everything else but it, and just to confuse people, throw people off the trail, because and obviously Wes and Chris do a great job of like getting the insight of like, hey, we're here. This guy's probably going to go here. He liked this visit. He likes this coaching staff. Like, I would want to throw people completely off the trail. When I made my announcement, I wanted to be a surprise to everyone.
But the thing is, if you did that, everybody would be they would be just making up stuff about whatever you posted.
I'm sure they would.
They'd be like,
but see,
who does he like? Ooh.
That would be the one thing that I would tweet about. I'd be like, this ain't true. It's like, hey, speculation. Tyler Heads really likes Texas. No, I don't. Who gave you this information? It's a lie.
Sources.
Sources. Sources everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Can't reveal my sources.
Yes.
But I mean, it's almost comical to this point how cut and paste all this kind of stuff has become. And now that we're in the midst of transfer portal season, and look, it's going to be open for a couple more weeks, so there's going to be more guys going in and more guys that we're keeping an eye on. But you always wait for that official announcement on the Twitter.
Yeah, that's when it's official,
right?
And to that point, yesterday we were talking about Mario Anderson, reportedly about to possibly, but had not, at least as of yesterday, not officially entered the portal.
And checking, Gamecock Central last night before I went to bed, still has not officially entered the portal as of yet. So my thinking is maybe the longer this goes on, the more likely he is to come back. And I kind of look at Mario Anderson, and I don't know what the market out there for him across the country is. And he certainly probably didn't have the season that he wanted to have here, because there were certainly issues on the offensive line, but he contributed enough to say, okay, we feel good about this guy going into next year, where he could likely, in what would be his last year of eligibility, maybe do enough to get himself, looks from the NFL and all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't know what kind of schools would be looking at him in the portal as of right now.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's always the key thing, because the portal, once you enter yourself into the portal, it's not as if you have an exchange of looking at possible offers or things of that nature. I don't think they've done that yet, and that might be something that they can look for in the future. But it is mysterious to everybody who's not involved with it.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part, and social media is a great place and a bad place at the same time. I saw last night, and look, Mario hasn't tweeted anything out, like we were talking about the graphic of thanking people for his time here at Carolina and all that stuff. But he did tweet out, because we know he is expecting a child, and he tweeted out a photo of him and his girlfriend, fiance, I don't know what the situation is, or the mother of the child, taking a picture yesterday. And the post was about like, hey, I'm excited to be a father.
Bad move.
I looked, and there were like 20 replies. I'm like, I don't want to read these replies, because I already know what they're going to say.
Come on, man. Well, yes, Mario, you've been in social media long enough to know that was a bad move.
Right.
Come on, man. I don't know what you're trying to do there, but Don't post something like that and then say, I can't believe people are, what's going on.
Yeah. This is the time period until you know officially what you're going to do. Go dark for a little bit.
Yeah, man. Relax.
People were not kind to Juice WRLD. I think he even made it where only certain people could reply to his tweet when he put it out there.
Oh my God, people are not being kind to me on the internet. After I just made a really controversial decision, I know, what is the world coming to?
Yeah, well, and especially for a guy like Mario, because Juice was kind of the first big domino to fall, and obviously we've had Omega Blake and Mitch Jeter, other notable names that have gone in the transfer portal, as well as the guys that weren't playing that don't really register on the radar nearly as much. No disrespect to those guys, but those are the ones you kind of expect to transfer. But then you had Mario, who again, when you look at how depleted the running back room was, Kerryon Joyner's exhausted all of his eligibility. Juju McDowell's hurt. Braswell did fine in the few moments that we saw him, but he's not going to be expected to be RB1 next year. That's the one room. It's well, at least we got Mario Anderson coming back. And now it's well, crap, maybe that's not happening either. So I understand people's frustration, but when you give them the opening and the opportunity to tell you something, and knowing you're on social media posting things, you know what they're going to do.
Yeah, you should have saw that one coming, sir.
I was going to say, and I didn't even bother opening it because I know what the reply is going to be, and I'm sure there were some nasty ones in there calling him all sorts of names. Say, why would you leave Carolina? And you're gonna be a failure elsewhere, and all that kind of stuff. Be kind, please. I advise people never to tweet at high school recruits because that's a 16, 17-year-old kid. You have better things to do with your time. Be mindful about when you tweet at actual college players as well, because they're also kids to a degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no heroes in this situation, right?
Everybody's
everybody's there doing the wrong thing. So.
I like to implore the system of anytime I tweet anything, whether it be at somebody or just a general tweet, I type it out, I read it 2 or 3 times, and then I ponder, is this worth tweeting out there? Am I going to get myself in trouble? Am I going to upset people? Let me gauge how this could go if I tweet this out.
Yeah, the only problem is when some people tweet out, they're like, "This is gonna upset people."
Well, that's true, and
I can't wait to enrage people.
I try not to be controversial. Yeah. I try and be straight down the middle.
It's not worth it.
I try and use social media for fun, all that kind of stuff. But that's not everybody's cup of tea, I guess. We'll continue talking about the transfer portal. Talk about some names that are coming back to South Carolina next year, and the importance of that is we got 3 hours. It is the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass. Here on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Be listening for your chance to win Gamecocks men's and women's basketball tickets, 107.5 The Game t-shirts signed by Gamecock players, and more merch. It's the 12 Days of Christmas from The Game.
The 12 Days of Christmas on The Game is sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spa.
You just heard it right there. 12 Days of Christmas here on The Game. On every show for the next 12 business days, going to be giving things away. Tickets will give away a Spencer Rattler t-shirt yesterday. So keep it locked right here on The Game all day long. We're doing shows from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. And we're going to have so many things to give away over the course of the next couple of weeks leading you up to Christmas. I'm even looking right here a little bit later on in the show. We're going to have some men's basketball tickets to give away in the 7 o'clock hour. So the 12 Days of Christmas here on The Game, the gift that literally keeps on giving, as we'll give you the opportunity to win plenty of things. Keep it locked right here on The Game all day long today and over the next couple weeks as we will enjoy the Christmas spirit of giving things away. And hopefully you can get some of that cool stuff yourself. Early game rolls on. Tyler Head and Preston Thorne with Ed Bird on The Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Text and with proof. Call 888-320-6359 for details. Ho, hold everything. Savings clause is coming to JT's Kia. JT will stuff your stock in with savings. Thousands off new Kias. Telluride Sorrento Carnival. Save thousands in interest. Just 0.9%. Dream of a white Christmas, but make no payments till spring. Get 20% more for your trade, up to $6,000. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sKia.com. Kia season of giving back.
Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause thousands of dollars in damage to your home's foundation. Canty Foundation can replace your gutters and save you money.
Canty installs gutter shutter.
Call us today for your free inspection.
Canty can fix it.
Having a reliable gutter system is essential to protecting your home's interior and exterior. Heavy rain can unleash gallons of water onto your home, and poorly maintained or leaky gutters could lead to roofing, siding, and water damage that is expensive to repair or replace. Online at cantygutters.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-333-1750. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-333-1750, 800-333-1750, or biglou.com.
Mobile phones, video games, texting. Do you feel like your family's getting lost in the virtual world? It's time to unplug and get dirty in the real world. Get connected on a new Honda CRF dirt bike from Carolina Honda Powerhouse. CRF 50s, 110s, 125s, and the 125 Big Wheel in stock and ready to ride. Buy now and we'll store your purchase until Christmas. Carolina Honda Powerhouse. Exit 70 off I-20 and turn by the Flying J, or visit carolinahonda.com. Intended for off-road operation only. Parents need to consider a rider's age, size, ability, and maturity before allowing them to ride.
This holiday season, visit Boot Barn for top quality gifts that pay tribute to the lasting heritage of the West. From handcrafted cowboy boots and American-made felt hats to hand-stitched leather jackets, our in-store experts will help guide you as you shop, assisting with boot fitting and providing complimentary hat shaping. This holiday, share a piece of the American spirit. Boot Barn. Unwrap the West.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
Is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
All right, time to take a look at your traffic around the Midlands for your ride in this morning. Roads looking relatively clear as of right now. Do have a disabled vehicle on I-20 westbound right at exit 71, so proceed with caution through that area. There's an accident on Highway 1. That's Augusta Road right at I-20. And then have another accident, seems to be in the same areas, potentially two accidents in that same area. But as of right now, everything looking mostly clear for the most part as we get you set for your upcoming weekend. Taking a quick peek at the weather real quick. It is cold. If you walk outside, you can tell that 38 degrees, high of 63 today as we get set for a nice weekend. Do have some storms expected to come through on Sunday. It's the early game here on The Game.
The early game.
With Phil Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Jen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in to the early game. Tyler Ed in for Phil Gunter this morning alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass producing for us. A lot of folks out today. Bill's out, Jen's out, Jay's out this afternoon. Kind of a skeleton crew for this Friday. But as we mentioned, obviously we've been all grinding through the football season as we're getting set for really the first calm-ish Saturday we've had in a while.
Absolutely. The chance when you get a chance to maybe sit back, especially those of you all who have to go to the games and be in the press box, do the pregame show, you're gonna a lot of time.
You say have to go to the games like it's just daunting task. It's enjoyable.
It is.
It can be a long day, but there are worse things you could be doing with your Saturday.
For sure. There's absolutely a lot of worse things that you could be doing, but you still have to be somewhere at a certain time.
You do.
In a certain place, and there's crowd. It's just a lot of things to deal with to get to the thing.
Hey, I will say this, from my experience of going to games in Athens and going to games here, Columbia does traffic 1,000 times better than Athens does when it comes to game
Tyler,
day.
that might be the hottest take you've had since you've been on the radio, and I believe nobody listening would ever agree with you.
Just
because they haven't been to Athens. So what I'm saying is they might have been to Athens, but if you was to take a consensus about how Columbia does traffic, I'm sure it would get 100% disapproval. So that is a very hot take.
So when I was in Athens, I lived probably about 10 to 15 minutes from Sanford Stadium. Had an apartment on the other side of town, and this was the spring game, so not even like a full 93,000 in Sanford Stadium, a spring game
for
G-Day. My buddy came to it, and it was not even, because they were doing the West End Zone, so it wasn't even like full capacity. So you're talking maybe 30, 40,000 people. It took us legitimately like 2 hours to get to a restaurant after the game that was maybe 3 or 4 miles away from the stadium, because it's all single lane roads.
Yeah.
Because at least here, and we obviously do our show at Sound and Images on Bluff Road, so we park there. So when I leave, I get on Bluff Road, just go straight out to the loop. So and they open it up all 4 lanes, so traffic's all going in one direction. Fantastic way to do it. I imagine coming back through the city is a little bit more complicated, but in Athens, it's all just regular roads. So it's just jam packed, and they have the loop, obviously, but like you have to go through like Millage Avenue or whatever road you're parked on to get there. It's a nightmare. So my hat's off to Columbia. They do traffic a whole lot better than Athens does.
That's probably the upset of the year. I'm not sure anybody would have ever said that here on these radio waves, but I mean, yeah, I feel you. But amongst all that, you still have to do traffic. And so this weekend is the first time a lot of the folks who work at the station have sort of a weekend to relax a little bit.
No, absolutely. And obviously you have Army-Navy game tomorrow. So there is some football on, and obviously basketball, men's team in action, taking on East Carolina coming up at noon, which we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, finally the first weekend of like, we can breathe for once when it comes to college football, and bowl season gets kicked off next weekend. And obviously we got all the semifinals and stuff coming up after Christmas. But, it is nice to have a little bit of a reprieve. Now, next year, once we go to the 12-team playoff, you'll still have Army-Navy weekend. That's a little bit calm, but then you jump right back into it with first-round games, all the bowls. Then you got, quarterfinals, New Year's, semifinals, 2 weeks after that, national championship. Like, we're adding another very busy weekend at the college football calendar in 2024.
Yeah, so it'll be a whole new excitement, and there'll be a lot more excitement because it'll be the first time, and we'll be talking about all of the things that the tournament is doing, all the things the tournament is not doing. It'll be a lot of excitement, but that is
it is
so much will happen, which is the weirdest thing about college football.
Sure.
The season is over. Coach Host always used to say this to us. Actually, the season is the end of college football.
Okay.
Right? So if you look at it, college football, all coaches sort of adopted this, but he was the first person I heard say it. The season is 4 phases.
Sure.
But the year is 4 phases. The season is actually the last phase. And so the winter workouts, winter time, that's phase 1. Then you're going to have spring, then you'll have summer, and then you'll actually have the season. And so college football is the rare sport where so much is going to happen between the season,
right,
and what's going to happen in between there. Who knows where this landscape will be by then?
Well, and the season is the shortest part. And you obviously
it's the shortest part.
You hope you get a bowl game that extends it out, but the regular season is 12, 13 weeks when you count the bowl game. Like, that's just a tiny sliver of what the entire year is. You mentioned spring ball, going through some workouts, all that kind of stuff. Like, not 80% of it is the build up to the season, and then the season gets here.
It's kind of like football. It's kind of like the actual game of football.
Sure.
It's like, I think I saw the calculated, especially in the NFL, they was doing the calculation. There's like 3 minutes of action.
Oh, yeah.
Actual action, but 57 minutes of standing around, looking, talking, all that stuff. So it's kind of appropriate.
I think the average NFL game is like 10 to 11 minutes of like pure actual something's happening. The ball is moving. Guys are running during a game. Like if you were to condense it all down and cut everything else out, the time between plays, timeouts, all that stuff, commercial breaks, like you legitimately have like a 12-minute game.
Yeah. And but again, that wouldn't be fun. Because the part of everything about football is the things that surround the game. And that's the cool thing about college football. The season is awesome, but it's only awesome because we know all the storylines that have led into the season. We follow recruiting. We've done spring ball. We've had summer. People have gotten injured. Coaches have left. All these things have happened that lead us to the actual season.
Well, and I thought ESPN's marketing this year, because they have their own like unique thing every year when it comes to college football playoff, is the greatest story ever played, which I thought like that's a perfect way to describe college football because there are storylines, there are things that develop over the season. We don't know what they're going to be. And, we hope it's a happy ending for your individual team or whatever it may be, but you stay tuned in to not only your team, but the entire product because there is so many things going on.
It's a reality show.
It really
is. It's the best reality show because, as you stated, there's going to be interpersonal beefs. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be upsets. It's going to be teams that win that you didn't think were going to win, teams that lose. Coaches are going to get fired. All these things are happening.
And not to say that those things can't happen in the NFL, but you have a much smaller product or a much smaller field where you have 32 teams. So on a full weekend, 16 total games and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to college football, where just in FBS alone, 133 teams, given, depending on who's playing FCS teams, you could have 80 to 100 games on a given weekend. And because of that, I do a segment every Monday during the season called The Oddities of College Football, where I literally go through and say, hey, here's a weird thing that happened in this game because it's going to happen at some point over the weekend because you have such a large sample size to pull from.
That's the thing. And that's honestly what people love so much about college football is that there's a randomness to it.
Right.
And I hope that we can continue to keep that randomness to it as we, go more professionalized in the game. The 12-team playoff players are getting money, all this stuff. We're going that direction, which is going to make the game cleaner.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's going to make it funner because when you watch the NFL, you can pretty much bet majority of games it's going to come down to a field goal or a touchdown, one possession or something like that. And the games are going to be very tight. They're going to be cool.
And look, it's the best of the best play,
absolutely,
which you appreciate it for.
You appreciate that. And there's an efficiency to it.
Yes.
It's very clean. You know what you're getting. And there is something to be said for that. But there's also something for, as we lament the loss of Pac-12 after dark, there is something to say for those types of things. And that's why I think majority of us love college football.
And there are a lot of people out there that don't get into college football, that only enjoy the NFL, that look at just a sampling of college football like, how can you enjoy this? And I'm like, if you don't get it, you don't get it. You got to be ingrained in it.
How could you watch Iowa punt 11 or 12 possessions and enjoy it?
It's special. He is America's punter. I think I saw, because they're playing Tennessee in their bowl game, the Citrus Bowl, which talk about two polar opposites.
That is a great example because when you watch an NFL game, it's the same team.
Yeah, nobody's running the triple option in the NFL.
There's no difference between those two teams that are playing. But Tennessee and Iowa, they almost don't even play the same sport.
That's a fire and ice, basically. Two polar opposites going head to head, which, by the way, that punter, Torrey Taylor, I think you'll be able to set the all-time punting record in a single season if he punts for like 50 yards in that game, which we know he's going to.
It was the last Iowa game, I believe I was watching. It wasn't Iowa, Michigan. It was the game before that where the camera just kept showing two dudes in the crowd
with the punt shirts.
They're
excited.
And they were just celebrating punts. Yeah, It's the randomness of the game that I think majority of people appreciate.
That's why we love college football so much. We'll talk a little bit of transfer portal. Guys coming back for the Gamecocks coming up as the early game rolls along here on the Game on the 107.5 The Game app.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
All right, Preston, here, let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. They'll come out to you and they'll give you a free quote for any job. That means if it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you. What do they mean by your location? That means they'll come to your house. They'll come to your job. They'll come to wherever you are.
30.
They'll take care of the glass for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance to take away the headache. Now, if you're sitting at home and you're looking around and you're trying to say, how can I increase the value of this place?
20.
Absolute Glass could take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures.
15.
Now, I'll say it again. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it.
10.
So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Your attention is precious. Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important, like dinner with loved ones. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at fepblue.org.
No one likes to talk about the injuries, pain, disability, and lost loved ones that result from terrible car and tractor-trailer accidents. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're honored to be the lawyers our clients rely on during their toughest moments.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When a work injury disrupts your life, I work hard to get you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. Whether you're making a traditional roasted turkey or spicy turkey tacos, your go-to shrimp cocktail, or your first Cajun risotto, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace your traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save now on 80% lean Angus ground chuck. 16-ounce packages are only $3.99 each with your card and digital coupon. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Plus, tax entitled with approved credit card 66243-4623 for details.
It's the most wonderful buy of the year.
You'll be singing about savings during the sale of the year at JT's Dodgeland and JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. 12,000 off new Jeeps. Your stocking will be stuffed when you save $12,000 on new Rams. Chargers and Challengers, 6,000 off. Get 2.9% for 72 months. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sCars.com. Wrap up the year sales event.
Pete Wine Pool and Spa is your hometown hot tub dealer where sales and service go hand in hand. If you've been thinking about buying a hot tub, come check out our full line of hot tubs and explore the benefits of hydrotherapy, which includes stress relief and increased blood flow and promotes overall health and well-being. Models start as low as $5,000. Pete Wine Pool and Spa, 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find us on Facebook or online at PeteLWinePools.com.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit LawyerLisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, where saving is always the name of the game. The lowest price, guaranteed, or they'll pay you $1,000. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at LoveChevy.com. Find new roads.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
And time to take another look at your traffic around the Midlands for your ride in this morning. Still have that disabled vehicle, that one going to be out at I-20 westbound, right at exit 71. Do not believe that vehicle is currently blocking any lanes. It's still working the accident. That's going to be at Augusta Road right there at I-20. So proceed with caution through that area. Everything else looking relatively clean and green around the Midlands. Taking a quick peek at your weather. As I mentioned, it is 38 degrees as of right now. So you might want to have a coat when you go out the door. High of 63 today. 72 on Saturday, 71 on Sunday, with some storms expected to come in sometime Sunday afternoon. You're listening to the early game here on The Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. It is the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunser alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass. Producing for us. Appreciate you guys chiming in on the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100 as well as in the live stream. Lori asks, how many athletes does South Carolina currently have in the transfer portal? Are we high or low compared to other schools? And I can say as of right now, this does not count Mario Anderson because he's not officially entered the transfer portal. South Carolina sits at 15 players currently in the transfer portal as of right now. For some comparisons around the rest of the SEC, schools like Arkansas also have 15. Kentucky has 13. Mississippi State has 12. Vanderbilt has the most with 16. Schools like Alabama has 3. Obviously, they're still in the mix of the college football playoffs. Some more to come. LSU 4. Texas 4. Georgia actually has 12. So a pretty fair mix across the board for different numbers. So don't be alarmed by the fact that South Carolina has 15. And again, you almost kind of expect every year you're going to lose a handful of guys, maybe even a dozen or so, to the transfer portal because that's just kind of the age of college football we live in.
Yeah, and we don't. And I would just caution anybody by making extrapolating any type of meaning from those numbers because I'm not sure they mean what we thought they would have meant at one time. At one time, if you would have seen numbers going like they would say, "Oh, what's going on in the building? Is the culture wrong or something happening?" I'm not sure if it means that anymore. Then you might be able to. Then some people might say, "Well, they might not have the NIL situation correct." I don't know if it means that either. So I would just be cautious about trying to get meaning out of what any of that means.
And I know everybody obviously focuses on who is leaving, who's not going to be a part of the team or assume not to be a part of the team. These guys do have the opportunity to come back until they officially announce they're going somewhere else. But we've gotten these announcements over the past couple of days of guys that are confirmed to be returning. A lot of them signing deals with the Garnet Trust. They've been tweeting that out. Hey, Boogie Huntley signed a deal coming back for 2024. I feel like we're not putting enough into that about, hey, this guy is coming back. This guy is going to be a part of the team next year. And the most recent example of this was yesterday, Debo Williams put a thing on Twitter announcing that he was coming back. And he's somebody that not only is one of the best players on the defense and one of the best tacklers in the SEC, he's also a leader of the defense. So not only are you getting a good, solid contributor, but you're getting one of the main voices in that defensive room that's confirmed to be back in 2024.
Yeah, and his post yesterday was "job's not done."
Mm-hmm.
That's his thing. And again, I don't know Debo personally, just from what I've seen of him on the field and I've listened to his interviews. It seems like he's always on max intensity.
It seems that way.
It seems like he's always dialed in, max intensity, very much focused on whatever he's attempting to do. So when you have a guy like that says that he's coming back, that, as we just talked about, that leadership doesn't just show up on during the season. He's going to be back for winter workouts. He's going to be back for the spring. He's going to be back for summer workouts. You need that type of leadership around, and he's going to be somebody who is going to be able to look around. And because he's performed well this season, I believe he was second team All SEC.
He was, yep.
So when you have somebody like that who's accomplished those things, now it gives him the opportunity to lead even more because people have to stand up and listen to him.
And he was in for the Garnet Trust Hour a couple weeks back. Chris did an interview with him, and I listened to it. Very good, very insightful, and he's knows his football and obviously has had a good career here at South Carolina so far. But he strikes me as the guy that, and because he comes from Delaware, obviously, and I feel like he's always had a chip on his shoulder, always out there trying to prove something. And again, playing with that intensity, with his hair on fire, 110% every single game. Like, that's the kind of guy that you want to be a leader, that is going to go out there and give it his everything week in and week out because he always feels like he has something to prove.
Yeah, but I stress this point. In order for you to be that guy, you have to perform well on the field.
Sure.
Because you can be as intense as you want. You can be 100%, say all the cliches that you want. But if you don't play well on the field, it's really difficult for anybody to follow you.
Sure. You can be the rah-rah guy, but it doesn't look the same when you're sitting on the bench.
I'm going to give you one worse than that. When you're the rah-rah guy and then you're not making any plays on the field, people will be like, shh, please, I don't want to hear it from you. Please, take that over there somewhere. But when you're the guy and you're making plays, that's a great combination. That's the only way it works.
Y'all have one of the rah-rah bench guys when you were playing?
I've seen that guy. That guy just exists in the football universe everywhere.
Hey, I mean, great friend, great teammate, but it's like, all right, bud. Like,
come on, man.
You're not doing the job you think you're doing.
Come on, man. Relax. We all see the film.
So, and linebackers are often kind of thought of as like the quarterback of the defense because they do play that middle spot. And it's like even in the NFL, a lot of them are the ones getting the communications from the defensive coordinator. Like, is that the perfect place to kind of have one of those leaders on your defensive side of the ball?
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
that guy right in the middle of everything.
Absolutely. That's where you want that leadership position because when you break down the positions, we know defensive backs tend to be a little bit volatile.
Sure.
Personality-wise. So when you have your team led by defensive backs, you're in for a wild ride because those guys are very volatile. Then your defensive linemen, they can't see everything behind them. And defensive linemen, y'all are my people. We get tired. A lot of times defensive linemen get tired. They're not talking to anybody. The only thing they're focusing on is just getting another breath.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say to you. I can't make a call. I don't want to talk to anybody because I'm tired. And so linebackers are the combination of both of those things where they can, maybe give the defensive lineman some encouragement and then they can calm down those DBs back there.
So you have the defensive linemen that are out of breath.
Totally.
And don't want to exhaust that energy hyping people up. You have the defensive backs that are always chirping at the other team. And my favorite thing with defensive backs is ball gets thrown 10 yards over the receiver's head. Give me the incomplete. Yeah, buckle it down. Like, I'm like, bro, you didn't do anything.
They're so busy chirping at the other team. You're trying to get them to call you like, hey, man, let me get your attention. They're like, oh. Just attention span. And you need, again, that's why football's so amazing because it takes all these different types of people to make a squad or a unit. But the linebacker, especially a Mike, knows how to get everybody in place.
Yeah. Well, again, and they have probably the best vision of anybody on the defense because they're right in the middle of everything. And I've seen where a linebacker, you talk about guys like Debo being kind of that sideline to sideline guy that has to be everywhere on the field, that does a little bit of everything, rushing the quarterback, going into coverage, all that kind of stuff, run stopping, which again, Debo Williams very good at that, second team all SEC, as you mentioned, and hoping coming back next year he can be even better and
Absolutely.
be, first team SEC and being a consideration for one of the best linebackers in the nation and really looking at everybody that South Carolina is bringing back just from a defensive standpoint, pretty much your entire defensive line room, linebacker, you got a Jalen Kilgore coming back in the defensive backfield. Like you got a lot of good, solid pieces that can really excite you about this defense
and
next year.
Debo will be exponentially better next year because he struggled. The things he struggled with were some run fits where he might get a little bit too anxious and try, and that just might be a part of his personality profile as a player. But run fits he'll struggle with. So with another year of experience, he'll get better at that. He'll also get better at being a little bit more patient because the game will slow down even more for him. So all of the things that he struggled with this year, he'll get better with because he just has another year of experience.
Absolutely. So excited to have Debo Williams back and excited to see it. And look, not everybody that's coming back is going to put something on social media. We talked to Jeremy Smith from Garden Trust yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we have deals with guys that didn't want a graphic because they don't want to be, put in the spotlight and make it about them or anything like that. So a lot of guys coming back next year. You may not have heard from all of them, but we'll continue to keep an eye on that as the transfer portal continues to stay open, and hopefully we can get some more retention here for South Carolina. We'll dive back more into South Carolina stuff as we get into hour number 2, but weird story out of the NFL yesterday that I want to talk about to wrap up hour number 1. You ever say something and then after you finish saying it, you're like, well, that was stupid. This story fits that perfectly. We'll hit that coming up. You're listening to The Early Game. He's Preston Thorne. I'm Tyler Head. Ed Bird on the other side of the glass producing here on The Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Coming soon, The Game TV.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. So much for the schedule ahead for Pittsburgh. Last night's 21-18 New England upset at Pittsburgh was not the snooze fest we had anticipated. Bailey Zappi threw 3 first-half touchdown passes, and the Patriots held on. The Steelers mounted a comeback, but were sloppy with penalties and problems converting on 3rd and 4th downs. Pittsburgh, who lost to Arizona on Sunday, faces stiffer competition from here on out. I'm Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports Radio. Do you have a game plan for COVID-19? Prescription oral treatments must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms, even if mild. If you have a high risk factor, ask your doctor if treatment is right for you. Visit treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Do you have a game plan for COVID-19? Prescription oral treatments must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms, even if mild. If you have a high risk factor, ask your doctor if treatment is right for you. Visit treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Save the date. Join Canty Foundation Specialists and the United Way of Kershaw County on February 24th in Camden for the Caring Hearts Benefit. There will be live music by the Mike Veal Band and Camden's own Megan Davis. Dance the night away, enjoy an open bar, and savor food catered by Lil Fritz. Canty Foundation Specialists and the UWKC are coming together to raise funds for New Day Transitional Housing, helping families get a fresh start and a second chance. Tickets are available at Eventbrite under Caring Hearts Benefit or uwkc.net. Let's make a difference together.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Oh, I love this restaurant. Glad we got a table quickly.
What does that sign say?
Caution, wet floor?
No, right next to it.
If you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of serious consequences from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60. I didn't know that.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. RSV vaccines, including Pfizer's, are available. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Shen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning. Be back in on Monday as well. Bill will be back in Tuesday as he's using some much-deserved vacation days to wrap up the year because they don't roll over for us. So I'll be taking a little bit of time off here in the month of December as football, at least college football, finally starts to slow down a little bit. The NFL obviously still in full swing, couple more weeks to go in their regular season as the playoff picture begins to really take shape. Speaking of the NFL, you know, in sports, there are plenty of bizarre stories out there. But sometimes you see a headline or, the little crawl on ESPN and you read it and you just go, what? That's what I did with this story yesterday. So if you haven't heard, Bills coach Sean McDermott, apparently back in 2019, while trying to motivate his team, give a speech before a practice session or whatever. And look, coaches pull examples from everywhere. We've heard Pete Limbo talking about wars from the past and all kinds of things, movies from the 80s and all that kind of stuff. Sean McDermott, though, decided to use 9/11 as a motivating tactic when talking about the importance of communication and being on the same page. Now, he's not talking about the first responders, the people that went out there trying to save lives and, build back the city of New York and all that kind of stuff. And obviously the people that, were fighting for our freedoms in the aftermath of that. He was talking about the people that crashed the planes into the towers. And it's like, some things sound good in your head before you say them. At what point would this have sounded like good in Sean McDermott's head is what I want to know.
That's why you need a sounding board. You have to be able to, hey, I'm about to do this motivational tactics with the team. What you think? and then somebody has to be person enough to tell the coach and say, I don't think that's a great idea, coach. But it might have just been in the moment. I don't know if he had that prepared.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was up late one night watching game film and saw a documentary and was like, that's it. I got it. I know what I'm going to say to the guys. But a very poor comparison, to say the least.
I can think of a million better examples of teamwork.
Well, I mean, he didn't have to. He could have just went to the plane that was unfortunately crashed that went into the Pentagon, where the folks on the actual plane decided that they were going to do something. That he could have used the same message that he used then for a positive effect. So I don't know what he's like. They'll never see this one coming.
Sure. And look, Sean McDermott said that about an hour afterwards, he realized, that probably wasn't smart. And
that's very true.
Rightfully
very possible.
Addressed the team, was like, hey guys, I shouldn't have said this. This probably came off the long way. And look, I'm not a cancel culture person. I'm not calling for him to lose his job or anything like that. But this is just one of those like head scratchers, like, again, are you talking to yourself in your mirror and this sounds good, or did you have a crazy idea in the middle of the night?
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
Hey, let me write this down real quick.
I remember a similar story to this, and they were talking about defensive coaches have all kinds of strange calls for formations or blitzes or something like this. And this particular coach, it was an offensive coach, and they were running a flood concept all as a thing, and they were calling the pass play Katrina.
Ooh.
And they were like, and this was even closer to the actual tragedy of it happening.
Yeah.
And it created a slight uproar or whatever, but it was just like, man, that was in poor taste.
Yeah.
But two is just like, we can do better.
I mean,
like that's just not a good idea.
Call it like Noah's Ark or something like that.
Easy. Boom, bang. We all know the story. Let's get it done.
We get like that makes perfect sense.
We got it. But yeah. So you hear things like this sometimes, and I'm with you, not into canceling, quote on whatever that means, for somebody for making a poor judgment,
right,
or even just a very naive mistake.
Sure.
But if you speak to people like we do, here's the thing, we're walking a tightrope every day for 3 hours.
Of course.
Speaking your mind, saying things, and you talking to a mic for a living. I talking to a mic. I'm talking to students for a living. There has to be a distance between your brain and your mouth.
Yeah.
And there'll have to be occasions where you think you're about to say something, or you think you're going for something. You're like, I'm gonna pull that one back.
You ever run into that situation with teaching?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. All the time. You because you're just talking so much. And here's the thing that happens with teaching, Tyler. Little Tyler's in the back of the classroom with his head down, hasn't paid attention all semester. And you say one thing, and all of a sudden he's awake. And he heard that. Usually it's with teenagers, it's usually of a sexual nature.
Yeah, something that
some faux pas. And they're like, what'd you say, coach?
Yeah.
And I'm like, seriously, dude, you haven't been listening all semester and now you all of a sudden paying attention. Yes, that's going to happen. But yeah, anytime you're speaking for a living, there has to be a space between your brain and your mouth.
Yeah.
He didn't have it though.
I was gonna say we all remember what it was like to be teenagers. Did you hear what he said? He said the word.
Yeah, it's not even the word. It could be a combination of words. It could be
something's just phrased.
It could be a phrase. It could be, and again, with teenagers, there's no limit to their creativity on how they can make you say something that you didn't mean to say. And now they're all on board.
I just imagine you up there writing at the whiteboard or whatever, and just hearing the giggles behind you, and you're like, shouldn't have said it that way.
Yeah, as I got more experience, you can hear it. You can hear it as it flies across the classroom. You're like, oh boy,
yeah,
that wasn't a good one. Bad choice.
Yeah. Moral of the story: Sean McDermott. I want to say Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's like,
Yeah,
no, not me. Not me. I'm Sean McDonough of ESPN. Sean McDermott will be a little more calculated next time when it comes to crafting a motivating story for his team.
Poor choice.
That wasn't the best option, but we'll again, it's just a thing that happened a couple years ago. Why it's popping up now, I don't exactly know. But again, he apologized for it. No harm, no foul, and we'll move on from it. But just a bizarre story to pop up out of nowhere yesterday. 1 hour in the books, 2 more hours to go. We'll jump into the poll question that we had on 107.5 The Game's Twitter yesterday and get your thoughts on that. Coming up here on the early game, Tyler and Preston and Ed Bird along with you here on The Game. Coming up today from noon until 3, Terry going to be broadcasting live out at Todd and More, literally just down the street from us today for the afternoon show. You can go by and say hi to Terry, hang out with him for a little bit, get some of your sporting good needs. Maybe you're doing a little bit of holiday shopping. Maybe you're finding that right sports gift for somebody on your Christmas shopping list. Todd and More, the perfect place to do that. And obviously, again, hanging out with Terry from noon until 3. I, by doing the morning show, will not be out there today, unfortunately, because I do have to get something called sleep at some point today. So Terry flying solo for the halftime show coming up today from noon until 3, broadcasting live out at Todd and More. Go by and see him. Early game rolls on. Tyler, Preston, and Ed here on the early game, or here on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Welcome to BreezeLine, where next level internet speeds means next level productivity. Choose BreezeLine and go boss mode with next level internet and faster speeds backed by a fiber powered network. Terms and conditions apply. Go to breezeline.com to learn more.
Plus, text entitled with approved credit card 66243-4623 for details.
It's the most wonderful buy of the year.
You'll be singing about savings during the sale of the year at JT's Dodgeland and JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. 12,000 off new Jeeps. Your stocking will be stuffed when you save 12 grand on new Rams. Chargers and Challengers, 6,000 off. Get 2.9% for 72 months. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sCars.com. Wrap up the year sales event.
Scott here from Traditions Fine Jewelers, announcing a special diamond event that you're not going to want to miss. We're celebrating the fact that we now have our own growing chamber in the largest lab-growing diamond laboratory in the world by having a Labaganza event this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, December 7th, 8th, and 9th. We'll have beautiful loose diamonds up to 12 carats. That's right, 6-carat pairs, 7-carat rounds, 8-carat ovals, even amazing 12-carat emerald cut. We'll have diamond studs up to 8-carat total weight and diamond tennis bracelets and necklaces up to 10-carat total weight. Best of all, we'll have diamond jewelry to suit every budget with prices starting at just $199, and everything will be value priced with spectacular savings. We'll even have interest-free financing for qualified buyers. So come see us this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Get her the Christmas gift she deserves and save big at the Tradition Labaganza event. Only at Traditions Fine Jewelers in Lexington on Sunset and Sandhills next to the fountain, where the Midlands get engaged.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
Is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
Take another look at your traffic around the Midlands for your ride in this morning. Saw that accident, the disabled vehicle that is at I-20 westbound at exit 71. Also still working the accident, this one at Augusta Road and I-20. And then a couple more accidents to report, and a new one out at Spears Creek Church Road and Wood Creek Farms Road, as well as one. This one is actually an object in the roadway, I-20 westbound, right at Clemson Road. That is exit number 80. So certainly proceed with caution through those areas. As of right now, Function Junction looks pretty smooth. Obviously, you have the usual construction going on through there, so be on the lookout for any objects that might be in the roadway, nails, gravel, boards, anything like that. Other than that, everything looks pretty good for your ride in this morning. Let's take a quick peek at the weather, as it is currently still 38 degrees outside in Columbia. High of 63 coming up today, 72 tomorrow, 71 on Sunday. Do have some storms coming through on Sunday as well.
This is Gamecock Athletics Director Ray Tanner, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game,
a Cumulus media station.
The early game
With Bill Gunter, former Gamecock Preston Thorne.
Kansas and Illinois. Sounds like a great basketball game, Preston Thorne, but it's Illinois.
A lot of corn. A lot of corn.
A lot of corn. Is Illinois known as the Corn State?
Oh, there's a ton of corn. Yeah.
Really?
And Jen Jensen.
There was a school south of us that we played, and they were called, the town was Hoopston, and they were the Hoopston Corn Jerkers. Can't make it up.
Ooh.
That's unfortunate.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
The theme of this show. I don't know what happened.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Hour number 2, welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass. And I just checked Twitter. Bill has not entered the transfer portal, so we expect him to be back in on Tuesday. Again, enjoying some much-deserved vacation time now that football finally slowing down for a little bit. By the way, I want to say that promo rejoiner right there with the Hoopston Corn Jerkers, by far my favorite open that you guys do on this show.
It was a revelation. It was a revelation when it was said. And every time I hear, speaking of things that you probably couldn't say to a group of teenagers, that's way high up there.
That is definitely high up there. And I always get a good laugh at it, but your reaction of it's unfortunate.
That's all I was thinking in my mind is man,
pristine. That is perfect.
I could just imagine the principal of that high school is working overtime on inappropriate. That's inappropriate.
And what are the cheerleaders what are they cheering about?
It's all bad.
A lot of possibilities there. But yeah, that's an unfortunate.
Teenagers need no help in being inappropriate.
That is an unfortunate name, and you can even say that teenagers probably have fun with South Carolina's mascot at times as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of possibilities there. Want to dive into this Twitter poll that we put up yesterday on 107.5 The Game's Twitter X. I don't know what to call it anymore. You know where to go. You know what to look for. The question was, what concerns you most about the future of college football? Your options being transfer portal, NIL, and NCAA leadership. Now, all these things are kind of intertwined to a degree, but if you had to pick one individually, what way would you go? As of right now, and there's still about 4 hours actually left on this poll if you want to get in your vote in, NIL with a very slight edge over transfer portal, 40-39, and then NCAA leadership sitting in last place at 21%. And again, all these kind of things are intermingled with each other to some degree, but especially for South Carolina, where we've talked about NIL a lot, I can see why a lot of people would have that at the top of their concern list.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because that's what's getting all the headlines. For me, it would be the NCAA leadership. Because I think for the first time in a very long time, there might actually be some leadership in the NCAA.
Seems like it.
Seems like something's happening. It seems like there was a lot of conversation about why were they going to get this guy who's a governor from Massachusetts? What does he know about sports? And it wasn't because he knew things about sports. It was because he knew things about governance. Yep. He knew things about getting done. And again, we don't do politics on this show, but sure. Charlie Baker has a reputation for being somebody who understands how to reach across the aisle,
yes,
and being able to come to consensus on things. And this is the first time we've seen anybody in the NCAA take any step towards moving the sports world forward, as opposed to just sitting on your hands and resting, which was what I thought Mark Emmert was essentially. What Mark Emmert just rode the clock for the time he was playing.
I was going to say Mark Emmert was very much a puppet figurehead when it came to the NCAA. He was the face that you knew when we talked about it, and he was obviously always at the press conferences and stuff like that. He was the voice of the NCAA, but what power he had, it didn't seem like much, or if he
definitely wasn't
had power, he wasn't
willing to use it.
Yeah, no. He sat on his hands, and they obviously continued to try and do what the NCAA had done for 100 years, and that was make sure that the amateurism stayed in college sports. And then the Supreme Court is like, hey, you guys actually shouldn't have been doing this for 100 years. Things are about to change, and then they started deflecting blame everywhere else, and again, that's part of the reason why we're kind of in the mess that we're in.
As I stated yesterday, if you look at the Supreme Court, we have people of very varying political ideologies.
To get them all to agree on something.
They all agreed on one thing. They was like, no, this can't be so. They don't agree on anything else except this is something they all agreed on.
And you mentioned what Charlie Baker proposed earlier on in the week, which was, again, the most radical thing the NCAA has put out, maybe ever, certainly in a very long time, about this potential new subdivision of not only college football, but college sports in general, where you are paying in to have the opportunity to control your own NIL fronts. And again, will this come to fruition? Will it look the exact same as Charlie Baker presented? We don't know. That, that's going to take some time for all this to come together, if it ever does come together. But the fact that they are finally being proactive with something, and to me, I looked at this because we've talked about just the anatomy 5, Power 5, now Power 4 with the Pac-12 going away, RIP Pac-12 after dark. We always talk about, it seemed like at some point those conferences were maybe going to break off and do their own thing and have their own championships and all that kind of stuff. And the NCAA probably sees that writing on the wall and says, hey, wait a minute, let's meet halfway. We can figure something out here to where we're still involved, still being able to benefit from it. That seems to be the case. But again, the fact that, they're at least trying something and at least willing to have these conversations is a drastic difference from where we were just a couple of months ago when Mark Emmert was still in charge, where it's like, hey, we're just going to plug our ears and hopefully this all goes away or Congress takes care of it for us.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. The proposal is by no means perfect. Majority of the institutions probably don't agree with it, but he took a first step. Now that there's something on the books, now there's conversations that can be had, they can be amended. There's still a lot of things. There's still a huge question out there about the idea of employment. That's probably going to be something that will come up and will have to be discussed and dissected and reckoned with. There'll also have to be the idea of the players having a seat at the table as far as in bargaining. But there was a first step. And I think by having the NCAA taking steps, these other two issues will get solved in a way, and I do have faith that we'll get to a place that is much better than the current system we have in place now.
Sure, because again, we talk about NIL, it's kind of the wild, wild west of everything right now, and we can talk about unionizing college players, a collective bargaining agreement, all that kind of stuff. I would say, and I've talked about this before, I don't think that's where schools and the NCAA want to go, because then you're literally having to bring athletes to the table and they have to have a pretty strong voice in all this. And you also, as opposed to the NFL, MLB, NBA, whatever you want to talk about, where a collective bargaining agreement can hold serve for an extended period of time. When you talk about college athletes, you essentially have to redo this every 4 to 5 years, because the crop that made this CBA in 2023, well, none of those guys can be playing college sports in 2028. So the wants and needs of that group of college athletes is going to change over the course of a couple of years. So you're going to be having to redo it over and over and over and over and over again. And again, I don't think that's where the institutions, the conferences, or the NCAA ever want to get to. But again, this proposal by Charlie Baker can kind of maybe meet everybody somewhere in the middle. And again, if it happens, it's probably going to look a lot different than what he proposed. But again, it's encouraging to know they're at least trying something and at least willing to have these conversations.
Yeah, and they're trying to make the current system that's in place, trying to mold it and adapt it to where we are in modern times, because they basically tried to piecemeal these things onto a system that probably just needs to be remodeled and refreshed. And so that's where you get this. The transfer portal was a response to the archaic rules that were in place before.
Yep.
But that's what the NCAA consistently did. They said, oh, we were doing like this. You know what? Just have at it.
Sure.
Instead of actually trying to make some tough decisions. Same thing with NIL. There should have been deals in place for a long time. And instead of trying to actually proactively do something about it, to just say, oh, you know what? Whatever. Okay, we lost. You can do whatever you want, because we don't want to be responsible for it. I do think the new leadership is taking some responsibility for these issues.
Well, and with the transfer portal, the real crux of why it's become so prevalent now is the one-time transfer rule, where you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to worry about sitting out, because again, as we talked about a little bit earlier, that was a really important decision you had to make years and years ago, even just a handful of years ago, if you weren't a graduate student. Like, okay, I'm going to transfer, but I can't play next year. I got to sit out. I'm going to practice, all that kind of stuff, but I might get lost in the shuffle of, well, whoever's on this team. Somebody could pop in my position so I never see the field again. Some recruit could come into the next cycle or the next 2 cycles, and suddenly I'm 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. Like, you really had to weigh your risk when you were making those transfers. But now it's like, okay, well, I performed pretty well at a place like South Carolina. Let's just use Juice Wells for an example. And now, hey, Texas wants me. So I can go immediately to Texas. And yes, he's a graduate transfer, so it's a little bit different. But if this was his first transfer, because he did come in from James Madison, then you say, well, I'm just going to go to Texas next year, ball out, then go to the NFL. And it's not, this super serious decision that I really have to consider, because I know I'm going to be able to play right away regardless. So it's one of those kind of toothpaste out of the tubes things. Once you've changed the rule, I don't necessarily know how easy it would be to change it back to say, okay, well, now you got to sit out a year, or, we're having these caveats put on transferring again, because now you've opened those floodgates, and I don't know how easy it is to rein that back in.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult to rein that back in because and there's a great person. There's a couple of really interesting people, but if you're on Twitter, Midwinter is at Winter Sports Law.
Okay,
he specializes in this particular sect of following things that are happening with the NCAA. And one of the questions that's coming up about the transfer portal right now is you have a couple of states that are taking the NCAA to court again based on this idea. Again, this is gets into technical, but here's the problem.
Yep,
we're trying to treat this as if it's a cute hobby when it's a business. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry, and we're trying to treat this thing as if it's just a backyard hobby. And so we're expecting exemptions that don't apply to other businesses to apply to the NCAA. So something such as this idea of a transfer portal. There's no other business in America where you can say, no, you can't go to another place. That's not what America is founded on. They have antitrust exemptions that they've been granted, and a lot of states are challenging those currently. So the NCAA is essentially crumbling as an institution, but they have leadership in there that are trying to save it.
Well, and I think that's why the timing of what, I don't know whether they call him President Baker or Governor Baker. I've gone on both sides of the aisle there because he's a former governor, but he's now the president of the NCAA. Charlie Baker, whatever you want to refer to him as. I think that's why the timing of this is interesting, because it seems like the NCAA over the past couple of years was just losing power as the days went by. And this, I think, is their opportunity to kind of, again, grasp onto maybe something, say, hey, guys, we know you're thinking about maybe going off on your own. Let's work with you and maybe come up with some kind of agreement ourselves where we're still involved. You still have a lot of power, and you're going to have even more power than you do have right now, especially over NIL, but we still want to be involved by being the the overarching umbrella over all of college sports, as opposed to potentially losing. And look, money's at the crux of all this, because if the Power Fives break away and started doing their own championships and all that kind of stuff, guess what? The NCAA loses a boatload of money, which is the last thing they want to see happen.
Yeah, so they're trying to protect. They're trying to protect the golden goose in more mold and format. This will be ongoing.
Oh yeah, no,
this is going to be happening for a while. We'll keep everybody up to date on it. My advice, much like a lot of issues in the news, like you check in on it, but you probably don't need to follow it day to day, because not much is going to happen on it from day to day.
And I thought the most telling thing was and we got this confirmed with this event out in Vegas the other day, like not even conference commissioners were privy to this. They weren't like sent like an email like last week, like, hey, on Monday I'm going to release this out to public. Here's some inside information. They literally found out when all of us did on Monday, when this was put out on Twitter and, all these news outlets that reported it. And Brett Yormark's, he's jumped the gun on several things, but he was very optimistic and excited about this. And yeah, this is going to be great for college sports and all that stuff. Greg Sankey, who's been around the block for a while, says, well, we need to look into this, and we're not going to jump too far ahead and say this is going to happen or not going to happen. Like, he was a lot more calculated in his response, which,
of course,
that to me says this is going to be a long process. It's not going to happen overnight.
And let's be clear. If Greg Sankey says we're going to slow down on this,
we're going to slow down.
We're going to slow down on this.
So, something to keep an eye on. Again, if it's going to happen, it might be 26, 27, 30 for all we know. So nothing's going to change right away, but there are some wheels turning, at least in the idea process of what could be the future of college athletics here. Jumping to some men's basketball as they get set to take on Eastern Carolina coming up tomorrow. How did they respond to their first loss of the season against Clemson the other night? We'll hear from Coach Paris on Carolina Calls last night. That's coming up. It is the early game. He's Preston Thorne. I'm Tyler Head. Ed Bird producing for us on the other side of the glass here on 107.5 The Game. Oh, I mentioned the 12 days of Christmas. It's time for our first giveaway of today on this Friday, December the 8th. I have a pair of tickets to men's basketball taking on Charleston Southern on December the 16th. That is next Saturday's game. 2 tickets right now for caller number 4. Caller number 4 right now, 803-404-6100. Win yourself that pair of tickets to see men's basketball in action on December 16th taking on Charleston Southern. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, keep it locked right here on the game all day long as the 12 days of Christmas rolls on. Day number 2, as we'll have plenty more things to give away, t-shirts, tickets, the whole 9 yards, as we are just in a giving mood here on the game as the 12 days of Christmas rolls on.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
For whatever you may want in most any kind of sport, Todd & More is where it begins.
It's the Christmas kickoff sale where Todd Moore has hundreds of gift ideas for men, women, and children. Shoes, apparel, equipment, and more. Name brands you'll love and selections for every budget. From football, baseball, and basketball to tennis, pickleball, and soccer, Todd Moore has the best selection and prices. Todd Moore, 620 Hugie Street at Blossom near the campus.
Equipment for your sport, from the diamond to the court, Todd & More is where it begins.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? I'm Dr. Mark Bentley with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged or boxed meals, no surgery, and no hypnosis, call my office now at 803-824-4210.
Hi, this is Kyle. This weight loss program sure has been great to me. I've lost 93 pounds in just 4 months, only 20 pounds away from my goal weight. It has surely changed my life.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month. That's a half a pound to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 803-824-4210. That's 803-824-4210. Or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com.
Bill Gunner for my great friend, Dr. Dan Balknight with the Men's Clinic. The Men's Clinic is a local clinic with a well-respected physician and Dr. Balknight that will oversee your health care. It's not like programs you see online. This will be tailored to your individual needs. So contact the Men's Clinic today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or you can visit them on the web and learn more. mensclinicsc.com.
Honda ATV season is here at Carolina Honda Powerhouse, where we have all the new Honda 2024 Recons, Ranchers, Foremans, and Rubicons in stock and ready to ride. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, manual, automatic, in all the new colors. We've got them, and you can shop them right now on our showroom floor. Visit Carolina Honda Powerhouse in Columbia. Just take exit 70 off I-20 and turn by the Flying J, or visit CarolinaHonda.com. Honda recommends utility ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all riders take a training course.
Plus, text title with group credit card 662434623 for details.
It's the most wonderful buy of the year.
You'll be singing about savings during the sale of the year at JT's Dodgeland and JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. 12,000 off new Jeeps. Your stocking will be stuffed when you save 12 grand on new Rams. Chargers and Challengers 6,000 off. Get 2.9% for 72 months. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sCars.com. Wrap up the year sales event.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
Come take a look at traffic for your ride in this morning. Looks like that disabled vehicle has finally been cleared up on I-20 westbound. Still have the accident out at Highway 1, O'Neill Court right there by I-20, so proceed with caution through that area. Objects still on the roadway, I-20 westbound at exit 80. That is Clemson Road, so be on the lookout for that. And still working that accident as well. Let's get this pulled up here. At Spears Creek Church Road and 2 Notch Road. That is US Highway 1 going through there. Other than that, everything looks pretty clean and green through your ride in this morning. Taking a quick peek at the weather, up 39 degrees, high of 63 coming up today. Enjoying the rest of your Friday.
The Early Game with Bill Gunter.
Former Gamecock Preston Thorne.
And Jen Jensen, your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
But some of the defensive assignments and a couple of things that we wanted to get done, I thought we were pretty sharp with those things. Some scouting report details defensively, I thought we were good. Even offensively, the quality of shot we generated, I thought was good. We just, we had 3 layups in the first half, basically layups that we missed in the first half, a couple of
10.
And so it ended up being 7 at halftime.
5.
Could have just as easily been 14 or 15 based on how we defended.
Should probably turn my microphone on. Welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass. Real quick, I want to remind you that we did our 12 Days Christmas giveaway going in. The shout out to Mark who won those men's basketball tickets for Charleston Southern coming up next Saturday. That giveaway for the 12 Days Christmas is sponsored by our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spa. So we thank them for being a part of our 12 Days of Christmas promotion. That, of course, was the voice of Lamont Paris talking about the road environment that they were playing in Clemson the other night, where fortunately South Carolina did fall 72-67 with their first loss of the season. That was a rowdy bunch up there in Little John Coliseum. There was orange everywhere. I went about blind looking at all the orange with the safety vests and the hard hats and all that kind of stuff. And South Carolina did ultimately come up short. But man, for a game that they led, I think 27 of the 40 minutes, and obviously, maybe didn't play as well in those last couple of minutes of the game that ultimately led to Clemson winning that game. You got to be encouraged by being able to go in that environment, at least put up the fight that they did.
They did, absolutely. And that was the whole kind of question was there going to be any juice in the arena based on that game? And I don't know what was going on. I don't know whether they had a ticket giveaway or whatever the case was, but it was rowdy. I told Bill yesterday, it felt like I don't know if you want to say a tournament game, but it felt like a mid-season huge game. Just the environment, the feeling, all the fans, the intensity that was in the building at the time. I saw a tweet from Jeff Scott, who's the coach up there, and he said that's the best environment he's ever seen in Little John. I don't know if he was being hyperbole, but
yeah,
it was a lot. It was very intense in there.
Well, there was a lot really baked into that game. Obviously, it's a rivalry game, and I don't care what sport it is, volleyball, baseball, football, basketball. Anytime Clemson and South Carolina get together, there's going to be that juice of, hey, it's the rival. We're not supposed to like them, all that kind of stuff. And I got well-versed on how to properly hate Clemson leading up to the football game a couple weeks ago, so I consider myself well ingrained in the rivalry now. But that's always going to be there. And then you have, hey, both teams are undefeated. So both teams off to a really good start this season. Obviously, Clemson was a team that ended up really good last season. Obviously, after South Carolina beat them at the beginning of the year, that South Carolina loss actually was one of the reasons why they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So that's also baked into this as well. So there was so much kind of riding on this game, so much kind of mixed in to what was going on with both teams going into it that I think really led to that environment. Look, if they would have played at Colonial Life Arena, I think it would have been just as good, if not better, down here in Columbia as opposed to up there in Clemson. But you love to see that with any kind of sporting event in general, but especially when we talk about a rivalry game. And unfortunately for South Carolina, they did come up a little bit short, but losing, you never want to lose, obviously, but nobody goes undefeated in college basketball. It's just the nature of the game. But it's an opportunity to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, we're not invincible. We finally lost a game. Here's what we need to improve on. Here's what we need to be better in. And, go back to the drawing board and hopefully get back on track this weekend with East Carolina and going forward.
Yeah, and like I said, I personally, one of the things I touted last year, if you get a chance, listen to Lamont in his post-game interviews and during his coach's show. He's one of the coaches, I won't say few coaches. I'll say this. Lamont is very clear. He's very concise. He's very forthcoming with how he feels and information about the game. You don't have to guess. It's not a lot of coach speak. He tells you what he thinks, and you get a very clear insight into what he wants from the program and the ideas that he has about what's happening with the team.
Absolutely. And last night on Carolina Calls, talked about a number of things. One of them about feeling drained after that Clemson loss. And again, it's a highly emotional game, rivalry game. You sub for your first loss of the season. You hope that doesn't have a carryover effect. Let's hear what Coach Paris had to say. Cut number one here, Ed, last night about being drained after that game the other night.
It was just, everything was working together. It was, all right, you got the rivalry game, so we're gonna be excited about that, both sides regardless. And then, okay, you also are playing against a top 25 team on the road. Okay, then you're also got two undefeated teams. And so there was a lot going on that way. You try to make it just a basketball game. I think it was impossible in that game to do that. And so, I just think because of that, the guys wanted to win really badly, even more so than normal. And to outplay them for the majority of the game and then come up short was emotionally draining for them.
This is kind of one of those situations, and Coach Paris and Derek Scott talked about this last night on Carolina Calls. You don't want to let one loss become two losses.
Absolutely.
And again, Clemson was a sizable step up in competition than what South Carolina had played up this point. You had played a couple top 100 teams in Grand Canyon and Virginia Tech, two very competitive games that South Carolina, of course, came out on top of. But, Clemson's top 30 team and Ken Palmer rankings, net rankings, all that kind of stuff. And again, a tough game, road environment, rivalry, all that kind of stuff. And, you go on the road tomorrow to Eastern Carolina. It's a noon game. It's a team that's, they're doing okay this year, 6-3, but they haven't beaten any really high level competition up to this point. On paper, South Carolina should be able to win this game. But again, you don't want the hangover effect of what happened the other night on the road at Clemson to carry over into this game.
Yeah, that's where you say, you need to be a pro in this particular game. You need to show up, execute, do your work, all the boring cliches, get out of there with the win and move on to the next one. They're talking about juice. Probably not a lot of juice in the arena at 12 o'clock for a team that's not very good. You're probably going to be able to hear the balls bouncing and your sneakers squeaking.
Right.
You just still got to go out there and execute and just win the game, come back home.
Were you I think you and I have had this conversation. Were you a nooner guy, or you prefer to have the late game where you have all day?
Again, the environment is always going to be better in the late game. You know that. But from a playing perspective, as I said, just get a chance to wake up, play at noon, and then you have kind of the rest of the Saturday to do whatever you want to do. I always preferred the noon games.
Yeah, just get it out of the way.
Yeah. And again, very much similar to how you talked about.
Sure.
You're not saying get out of the way like, I got to play another football game. I got to here's another chance to live all my dreams out that I've been dreaming about. It's not that, but when you're 18 years old, 19 years old, if you get a chance to play at 12 and then you get a chance to partake in all the other college festivities after that.
Sure.
It's a win-win for everybody.
And I guess it also takes the element of the anxiety of sitting there
most importantly,
game doesn't kick off till 7 o'clock. I'm sitting here at 2 o'clock oh man, what could go wrong? What could go right? All this kind of stuff.
You think about what these, and this is back then, way back in those days, we would just be sitting around watching college football all day.
Right.
And then you'd watch games and you go to meetings and then you watch games, eat, go to meetings, and you're just sitting there. Now I can imagine if you're not playing until 7:30 or 8, what do you think these young people are doing all day?
Right.
Scrolling their life away, right? They could be scrolling, could be getting yourself ready to play, and then it's like, oh, Preston Thorne can't hit a jumper. Preston, it's like, oh man. And then you start feeding into all these things. So yeah, just wake up, go play basketball, and come on home.
Can't believe what Tiger fan 8729 said about me. Unbelievable.
They're disrespecting us up there in Greenville.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't want them falling into any of that because too much time on anybody's hands, but especially in these young folks' hands. You don't need it.
The men's basketball back in action tomorrow, taking on East Carolina. Tip off for that at noon. Pregame coverage starting right here on the game at 11:30. Again, coming up tomorrow. Women's basketball also going to be in action coming up on Sunday. We will dive into that and hear a little bit from Dawn Staley coming up. It's the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass here on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Be listening for your chance to win Gamecocks men's and women's basketball tickets, 107.5 The Game t-shirts signed by Gamecock players, and more merch. It's the 12 Days of Christmas from The Game.
The 12 Days of Christmas on The Game is sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spa.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Integrated Media. We've been telling you all season. We told you in the summer. We told you in the spring. We told you during the season. Now it's the holidays, and now it's your chance. You can still get your indoors and outdoors ready for any company that you may be having. Or you just want to have it ready for Christmas, you want to give yourself or your family a nice Christmas present, call the folks at Integrated Media. Here's what you can do. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs waterproof. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music so you can have those Christmas carols blaring over the outdoor speakers. Everybody will love it. Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, or my personal favorite, controlling all your devices
20
one remote. How nice would that be? You don't have to carry around 4 different remotes. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. Call
10.
Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327.
5.
Or check them out online at integratedmediainc.com.
If you're living with bad windows and doors, you don't have to suffer through the cold winter with them. Hi, I'm Colin Sullivan with Renewal by Anderson. Act now to schedule your free, no-obligation, in-home consultation with my team at freewindowassessment.com. Go to freewindowassessment.com today.
Let's text title with proof credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. Ho, ho, hold everything. Savings clause is coming to JT's Kia. JT'll stuff your stock in with savings. Thousands off new Kias. Telluride Sorrento Carnival. Save thousands in interest. Just 0.9%. Dream of a white Christmas, but make no payments till spring. Get 20% more for your trade, up to $6,000. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sKia.com. Kia season of giving back.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? I'm Dr. Mark Bentley with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged or boxed meals, no surgery, and no hypnosis, call my office now at 803-824-4210.
Columbia's Secret for Weight Loss changed my life. I've lost over 50 pounds, and now I have metabolic flexibility. To me, this program is more than just about fat loss. It's about a lifestyle. Throughout this program, the guidance and accountability help create a pathway to a healthier, better me.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month. That's a half a pound to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 803-824-4210. That's 803-824-4210. Or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No pressure buying. Best in class service. And a $1,000 low price guarantee. The season's always better in a Love Chevrolet. I-26 at Harbison and at LoveChevy.com. Find new roads.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we know how serious injuries change people's lives. I'm Jason Reynolds. When you're involved in a major car or truck accident, my team is on your side. You don't have to be alone. Let's do this together.
And I'm Steven Samuels. When you're hurt at work, my team is with you from start to finish. We're people with a passion for helping injured workers. Bring your case to us and stop the worry. We've got this.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
For the real story behind some of wrestling's biggest moments, it's Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson, too.
1995, when WCW announces they're going to be live and head-to-head with Monday Night Raw, feels like this would have been something Vince would have kind of laughed off.
No, we did not like them moving to Monday nights. There were a lot of hotels. They all carried CNN, TBS, and TNT. Vince was convinced that Ted Turner had deviously done this deal to get in the hotels and keep us out.
Something to Wrestle, wherever you listen.
The Game on Demand podcast menu.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, our team is here to get you better sooner. 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game in Florence. WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
Taking another look at your traffic around the Midlands this morning. Still have that accident that is out there at Highway 1 and O'Neill Court just before you get over to I-20. So be careful through that area. Also still working the accident. Let's see here. This one out at Spears Creek Church Road and Two Notch Road. A couple different objects in the roadway. One going to be out at I-20 westbound and Clemson Road. That is exit number 80. And then we have a new one that is I-77 northbound at Killian Road. That is exit number 22. Quick peek of the weather as the temperature slowly beginning to climb as the morning goes long. 39 degrees currently in Columbia. High of 63 coming up today. 72 tomorrow. 71 on Sunday with some thunderstorms expected throughout the day.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in, early game. Tyler, Preston, Ed Bird log with you on this Friday morning. Obviously, as college football begins to slow down, basketball picking up more and more. Talked about the men's team heading on the road to East Carolina coming up tomorrow. Women's team in action on Sunday, neutral site game, Hall of Fame showcase up in Connecticut as they will take on number 11 Utah in that game coming up on Sunday. Obviously, as they look to remain unbeaten on the season. This is obviously going to be a tough Utah team, as I mentioned. Number 11 on the season, have a couple of really, really good players that rank pretty high nationally. Alyssa Pill, 12th in the country in points per game, averaging a little over 22 points in each contest. And Gianna Neepkins, who is 11th in the nation in 3 points per game, averaging a little over 3 of those per game. So certainly something that's going to be tough for Dawn Staley's bunch to defend. But we obviously know they love scheduling these tough opponents because, iron sharpens iron at the end of the day. But the other night, they played Morgan State, and as we all expected, South Carolina handled them pretty easily with the I didn't even look what the final score was, but lopsided final score 104-38, which is again how you kind of expect South Carolina to beat those opponents. And it's really easy to look at those games and wonder, why does South Carolina bother playing these teams? They're going to blow them out, and it's essentially a tune-up game where you can get some players off the bench and be able to rest your starters a little bit. But Dawn Staley after the game was asked this question about scheduling teams like that. And why she ultimately chooses to have them on the schedule. It's about 2 minutes long. Here's what her response is to why they schedule teams like Morgan State out of the MEAC.
I mean, what you see great coaching. You see players laying it on the line. You see disciplined teams. And the reason why we continue to play them is because when I was at Temple, we couldn't get a top team to play us besides Rutgers and Tennessee. Those were the only two coaches that really gave us an opportunity because it hurt them more than it would hurt us. I mean, and we were an upcoming program that we could challenge you. We could challenge the top teams in the country. And it didn't make sense for them. So a lot of them said no. But I'll always remember what Coach Vivian Stringer and Coach Pat Summitt did for us and giving us an opportunity to measure ourselves against some of the best, like legendary coaches, and it's also the traditionally rich history of their programs. It allowed me to grow as a coach, and it allowed our program to grow at Temple University. So I always try to, and it's scary too. I always try to schedule people who are elevating or trying to elevate their program and move their program in the right direction. So all of the MEAC, great coaching, great coaching. I know the score did not indicate how well they executed what they needed to execute. Like, you can see what they're trying to do when we're preparing for Morgan State. Like, they run great stuff. Like, we're going to steal a couple of their plays because they are good. They are really good. So Ed did a great job. And I told him that after the game. And I think sometimes when you see the score, it's a downer, but they come in here for a reason, and that's to get better. And I hope we allow them to do that, because they allowed us to do that, even though the score does not indicate that, but we do learn.
And talking about a program getting better there with Morgan State, and it's a program that's been around for around 40 years now. They haven't made an NCAA tournament. They've had some recent success with Coach Davis having some winning seasons they put together the last couple of years. But the importance of being able to play a team like South Carolina, not only getting the financial benefit of playing that team, but also just being able to go up against the best of the best. Like Coach Staley said, that's going to eventually help them in the long run.
Yeah, you get a chance. It's a measuring stick. You see what's obviously the standard, the national standard, from players wise, from coaching wise, facility wise, and there's always going to be this idea of one, exposure. If we're still talking about college athletes, just giving them a chance to be exposed to the top of the game gives them something to shoot for, and then from a coaching aspect, it allows you to use that as teaching technique.
Sure,
this is what everybody knows. There are more, and I've heard this before, and I will say it again, there are more good coaches than there are good jobs.
Absolutely.
There are coaches who are coaching their butts off at every single level of athletics. When you think about high school athletics, I know you covered high school sports in Georgia.
Yep.
You'll see people at the 1A level, the 2A level, 3A, 4A, 5A. There are coaches who are doing tremendous jobs with little to no resources or whatever, not all the trappings that everybody has. So I think as Dawn tends to do, as Coach Staley does, she knocked it out the park in explaining why you have these games on your particular schedule.
And when we talk about specifically HBCUs from the MEAC, from the SWAC, a lot of those programs compared to other Division I institutions usually are on the lower end when it comes to funding. So the amount that, and I don't know what exactly that South Carolina paid for Morgan State to come in for that game. It's obviously not, like what football would pay to a team like Furman or whatever, South Carolina State. But, that whatever money they do end up getting from a game like that is going to benefit them in the long run as well.
It's not going to only benefit those women in that program. It's going to benefit the rest of the athletic program. It's going to benefit everybody. And just from the on-court perspective, they get a chance to measure themselves against the cream of the crop. So this is a win-win situation for everybody involved. I'm sure a lot of those women that came down, they probably, I would imagine if you looked on their Instagram, they all have a picture of themselves with the statue.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they probably took pictures with Coach Staley, just being at the pinnacle of the game. And then these women, majority of them are not going to play pro, right? They don't maybe not have WNBA aspirations, but whenever they're in their jobs later in life, they could be like, man, I played against her, or I played against that. That's going to be one of their fondest memories that they're going to have. And I don't think we should ever lose sight of that. But, obviously Coach Staley knocked that out the park.
Absolutely. And speaking of HBCUs, we have now learned there is a new head coach down at South Carolina State. Chennis Berry going to be taking over the head coaching job after leading Benedict to back-to-back, I'm assuming this is SIAC, S-I-A-C championships. So bringing in a coach with a good pedigree for these next couple of years.
Yeah, man, a huge hiring. And from everything I can gather from Bulldog Twitter and some of my friends that are very much enshrined in South Carolina State athletics, people are very happy with this hire. Obviously, he did a tremendous job at Benedict, basically pulling that program out of the ditch. They had not had a lot of success, and in the 3 seasons, I think I wrote it down, he's 27-7, two back-to-back championships, and very much how you talk about, how Will Muschamp was the most SEC of all SEC folks. I think Chennis might be the most MEAC of HBCU coaches. Like, he has been throughout this program. He's coached at Howard. He's coached at Southern. He's coached at various institutions around Black college football. And it is important to get somebody that knows a league when you're trying to establish, what they do. And I think is, from everybody that I've talked to, people that are very much invested in that program are very happy with the hire.
Well, and not only has he been around, similar programs, but he's also been in the state of South Carolina. So he's familiar with what Buddy's done out there, what he's built, and just what the culture of that program is in general. So it's not this, necessarily a foreign hire, somebody that's going to come in and try and radically change everything or anything like that.
He's very familiar. Now, he's obviously stepping into some huge shoes, replacing a legend, not just on the field, but off the field. And Buddy's a huge personality. And I'm not sure if Chennis, if that's what he does, but I've only heard amazing things. And for him, when you walk into a place recruiting, it's just like anything else. Every coach has experienced this. As you work your way up the levels, you get a different level of acknowledgement. When you're wearing the Benedict pullover as opposed to when you're wearing the South Carolina State pullover. Now all of a sudden, maybe some players that he wish he could have got at Benedict, he might be able to get some of those players at South Carolina State, or he might be able to bring some of those guys with him. Obviously, he's bringing a winning pedigree. I think this is going to be a tremendous hire. It's a new sort of time for South Carolina State football, also athletics. I believe they hired an athletic director also. So seems like it's going to be good times for them.
Certainly. We wish the best of luck to Coach Barry and seeing what that South Carolina State program is going to be able to do going forward. Speaking of football, we did have some last night. It wasn't pretty, and there was some controversy as well. We'll talk about that coming up as we wrap up hour number 2 of the early game. He's Preston Thorne. I'm Tyler Head. Ed Bird producing for us here on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Sir. Coming soon, The Game TV.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Fairfield by Marriott, official hotel partner of the NCAA. John Rahm has every right to defect to the LIV Golf Tour for anywhere from $300 to $600 million. Amazing. Rahm has every right to give the Saudis powerful negotiating leverage, but Rahm has no right to claim he's jumping for the love of golf and to help grow the game. You know what? What are we, a bunch of idiots? It's total BS. I'm Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports Radio. Get the home field advantage every time with Fairfield by Marriott, official hotel partner of the NCAA. Whether you're a student athlete working toward your championship dreams or your team's biggest fan, Fairfield by Marriott has everything you need to get ready for game day, from comfortable guest rooms to complimentary hot breakfast. Fairfield is part of the Marriott Bonvoy portfolio of hotels and official hotel partner of the NCAA. Visit fairfield.marriott.com to book your next game day stay.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Plus, text entitled with approved credit card 866-243-4623 for details.
It's the most wonderful buy of the year.
You'll be singing about savings during the sale of the year at JT's Dodgeland and JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. 12,000 off new Jeeps. Your stocking will be stuffed when you save 12 grand on new Rams. Chargers and Challengers 6,000 off. Get 2.9% for 72 months. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sCars.com. Wrap up the year sales event.
Life matters. Do you know that the tradition of sending Christmas cards originated in England in 1843? Were you aware that the average American home sends 28 Christmas cards each year? It may not surprise you to know that on average, it takes American credit card users 6 months to pay off his or her holiday bills. The tradition of the Christmas wreath was begun in the Roman Empire, and in Finland, the children are allowed to see Santa delivering their presents. Finally, according to a survey of mall Santas, the most common question kids ask is, why are there other Santas at other malls? This trivia may be interesting, but it won't really impact your life one way or the other. What matters about Christmas is what we do with Jesus Christ. Every year, folks seem to make peace with Jesus for a few weeks and then tend to forget. This is Stephen Chitty. Join us at Christian Life this Sunday and begin a year-round celebration of Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday, and remember, life matters, and so do you.
Step into the future of golf at the Players Club, Columbia's first and only exclusive indoor golf and country club. Escape the elements and elevate your game. The Players Club features 8 state-of-the-art full-swing golf simulators in a luxurious and fun atmosphere spanning 2 floors and includes high-end networking and event space. Experience world-class courses, cutting-edge technology, a full-service bar, and 2 restaurants all under one roof. Schedule a visit now at playersclubsc.com and take your swing to the next level. The Players Club, where golf meets elegance.
With Bill Gunter, former Gamecock Preston Thorne, and Jen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Chappie throwing, caught, Henry, touchdown. Whoa. So Henry, who scored.
Welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Ed Bird along with you. That was the voice of Al Michaels, sounding more excited than usual on Prime Video last night for Thursday Night Football in what was probably the least anticipated matchup of the entire season. A dismal New England Patriots team going on the road to a struggling Pittsburgh Steelers, picking up the 21-18 win for the Patriots to improve to 3-10 on the season, drop the Steelers to 7-6. You know, as the year goes along, Thursday Night Football progressively gets worse and worse and worse. And you can probably speak volumes to this. You're talking about teams roughly, if you play a 1 o'clock game on Sunday and then you play the game on Thursday night, you're talking about playing 2 football games roughly 100 hours apart from each other. And players will come out saying, hey, this is not healthy. And, you know, the league just kind of plugs their ears and says, $12 billion from Amazon, we're going to do this. And, you know, again, the games just get worse as the year goes along.
Yeah, I will say the players say that they say it's not healthy, but every time the CBA comes back, when they have collectively bargained opportunities to say, hey, we don't want to play on Thursday, they're like, hey, do you want a little bit more money? And they're like,
yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
We'll struggle through it.
Yeah, we'll get through it. But yes, Thursday games, not good from multiple levels. One, physically, you're probably not fully recovered by Thursday. And then the one I think people really sleep on is just preparation-wise.
Yeah.
You only have those 3 days to actually prepare. So neither team is coming into the game with a full slate of strategy on offense or defense. So it's going to be a struggle fest. But if I told you that, man, late season game between Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin, I would have told you that, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Oh, you're like, oh, man, this is like big. This is probably Sunday Night Football. This is a big deal. And yeah, now you're looking at a New England Patriots team that's in the conversation for the #1 pick in the draft, and then a Steelers team that for the first time in the Tomlin era might actually have a losing record.
We're gonna be on Tomlin watch for the rest of the time, because I'm pretty sure Tomlin somehow is gonna figure out a way to get.
He always does.
Some sort of way he's gonna get above 500, but this is a tough one.
Well, and when you look at the way the Steelers' schedule's been, last week they played Arizona, lost that game pretty handily, play the Patriots. Like, you look at the schedule, like, oh, that's going to favor the Steelers, should be able to get a couple of wins and put themselves in good position. But now you're looking at it like, okay, on the road to the Colts, which the Colts aren't fantastic this year. They're playing okay, and Gardner Minshew seems to have a bit of a resurgence going on up there. You take on the Bengals, who obviously are going to be without Joe Burrow, who the Patriots or the Steelers did defeat a couple weeks ago. Then you wrap up the regular season with the Ravens, and it's like,
yeah, you don't want to do that.
You know, I don't have the highest confidence in that.
He'll pull that one out some sort of way. You think Matt Canada is at home now? Like, I told you it wasn't
Told
me.
you guys.
I told you.
Look, I warned you. They also played the Seahawks as well on the road, so that's also not going to be
Which
easy.
is strange, because I think against Arizona they had actually a lot of yards on offense and still ended up losing. So I don't know what's going on there. We'll see. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Now, I showed you the controversial moment that happened late in this game where the Steelers down 21-18 with 5 minutes to go were lining up for a punt on 4th and 3, and it looked like one of the Patriots players jumped off sides, which would have, of course, given the Steelers a first down and continued their drive. But they ended up calling a false start on the long snapper for raising his head up prior to the snap. Now, pretty much all long snappers do this, where you're looking through your legs, basically making sure everything's lined up and where, you know, you need the punter to be and all that kind of stuff before raising their head and snapping the ball. And it didn't look like anything egregious. That was a very interesting, and look, NFL officials make a lot of mistakes anyway. That was a very interesting call to make, especially at a crucial point in the game last night.
So the question I asked you, because I didn't see it, I asked you, did he snap his head up?
It didn't look that way.
It didn't look as if he did. And this might be one of those things where we all agree to the spirit of a rule, and we just understand that this is one of those unwritten rules that we let slide in a game. But because the defensive player got into the neutral zone, I'm assuming they felt like they had to call it, I guess. But that calls, if they wanted to make that call, it's like holding. They can do that anytime.
You brought up a good point. We were talking about this during one of the commercial breaks. That could be something that Belichick was in the official's ear about. Like, hey, keep an eye on the long snapper. You know, he's bringing that head up a little bit too fast. Might draw one of my guys off sides, to where it ended up being beneficial for them.
I would not be surprised
at the end of the game, because even like the Patriots players, they thought they were guilty of jumping off sides and continuing the drive. But yeah, that's one of those things. And you see head coaches all game long working those officials, telling them those little things, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. But in an instance like that could be the difference between winning and losing sometimes.
Would you be surprised if you heard that Belichick told his player next time he raises his head up,
No, not at all.
Get into the neutral zone. That's obviously something that's why he is the greatest, and that's why he's one of the greatest. Obviously, he's struggling now, but finding those little gray areas, bending the rules, playing within the scope of the rules. I wouldn't be surprised if that was calculated.
Bill Belichick has his receivers or his defensive backs wear certain colored gloves because there's a less likely case to get called for holding and pass interference based on like these crazy analytics that he has on those kind of things. Like he pays attention to every single detail. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was working the officials like, hey, long snapper, bringing that head up too fast, watch for that, and then end up helping them out at the end of the game.
To bring this to I always think I've been kind of running this around. The starting quarterbacks last night were Mitchell Trubisky and Bailey Zappi. Do we not think Spencer Rattler is better than both of them?
Oh, 100%. I think Spencer's going to find a good place to land.
20.
Maybe with one of these teams, for all we know, because, it's a far cry from Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes.
All right, 2 hours in the books, one more hour to go. Early game on the
10.
Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Ed Bird on the other side of the glass here on the game and the 107.5.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The Mega Millions jackpot for Friday is $395 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing. And for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Give the gift of glow this holiday season at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Buy a spa package, get a free massage or facial gift card. Enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. Visit any one of their Columbia area Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa locations or handandstone.com to view their exclusive online offers and to find the spa nearest you. Restrictions apply. See spa for more details.
Trucks, we want trucks. New Silverados are on the ground now and more on the way to Herndon Chevrolet. We're taking up to $15,000 off to get you in your new truck. Stop by your hometown Chevy dealer and shop all your favorite models at prices you'll love. Find new roads at Herndon Chevrolet or visit us online at herndonchevy.com today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Get your home insanely clean with Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Call now to get 3 rooms cleaned for only $129. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you can get your hallway cleaned for free. Easily schedule online at ZerustColumbia.com.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence. WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
All right, taking another look at your traffic as we're getting a little bit busier out there on the roads this morning. Still working some of the same accidents from earlier, Spruce Creek Church Road and Two Notch Road, so be mindful of that. Still have the object in the roadway. This one going to be out at I-20 westbound and Clemson Road, and that accident out there at Augusta Road and O'Neill Court right before you get to I-20 is also still out there, so be mindful of that as well. Objects still in the roadway as well at I-77 northbound and Killian Road. That is at exit 22. And you have another accident, this one going to be out at Killian Road and Faro Road. So be mindful if you're going through those areas. Seeing a few slowdowns as you're getting a little bit into the city as well, as the usual crowd shuffling in for the early shifts of various businesses around Columbia. So be mindful of that. Taking one last look at the weather, still 39 degrees here in Columbia, high of 63 coming up today as you hopefully enjoy the rest of your Friday.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is Tony Allen, head men's soccer coach at the University of South Carolina. You're listening to 107.5 The Game, home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station.
The early game.
With Bill Gunter, former Gamecock Preston Thorne, and Shin Jensen.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief and the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. That, folks, is Charles Dickens predicting the Gamecock fate on Saturday. A tale of two halves, Bill.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Interesting way to open the program there with a little Charles Dickinson reading for you. So
I'm sorry, who?
What is his last name? I don't know.
Charles Dickens.
Dickens.
Yeah,
it's not Dickinson?
Not Dickens.
No.
Okay, yeah, I don't read.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
The theme of this show. I don't know. What happened?
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Well, that Charles Dickinson's a classic.
Hour number 3. Welcome back into the early game here on the Game. Tyler head in for Bill Gunter this morning, as well as coming up on Monday alongside Preston Thorne. Ed Bird producing for us on the other side of the glass. I want to make one quick correction here. We talked about women's basketball a little bit earlier. I mentioned they're going to be in action coming up on Sunday against number 11 Utah. I mentioned Gianna Nepkins, who is one of the best three-point shooters in all of women's basketball. I've been informed by a couple people on the text line. She's actually out for the season. So South Carolina will not have to deal with her coming up on Sunday. Appreciate y'all for that correction there on the Firehouse Subs text line.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, Godspeed to her, but we got to go play the game.
I was going to say, next man up, next woman up, whatever you want to use there. But yeah, that should hopefully play into South Carolina's benefit for what should be a competitive game. Again, playing up in the Hall of Fame showcase up on the road in Connecticut. That game tips off, I believe, at 2:30 coming up on Sunday, which you'll be able to listen to right here on the game. I want to get back into our discussion, and I brought up the Twitter poll that we have for the day from yesterday that has a couple more hours. We want to still go and vote on it on, biggest concerns around the future of college football, whether it be with transfer portal, NIL, or the NCAA leadership, which again, they all kind of tie hand in hand. But getting back into the NIL thing, which is just an ongoing topic that we can continue to dive into more and more with every single day that goes by, it's maybe not so much the NIL part that people have a problem with. It can also be the tampering, which is something that is prevalent across college football. In fact, yesterday in the press conference for the bowl game, both Dabo Swinney and Mark Stoops weighed in a little bit on tampering. Let's hear what Dabo Swinney had to say about tampering and its place in college football.
I honestly wish they would put the signing period, maybe August 1 or something, just to where these kids could sign and be done with it. Free them up, though, if the head coach left or is fired. I think they need an out there. But I think that's one thing. And it's not the portal. Portal's not the problem. NIL's not the problem. The problem is tampering.
15.
Problem. That is the problem in college football, and
10.
Easily too if they would let football people fix it, but we don't usually get a vote.
5.
That's the biggest challenge that we're dealing with is that aspect of it.
And look, I know Dabo Swinney is obviously the head coach of the enemy in the upstate, but I mean, he's not wrong. This is something that is prevalent across the landscape of college football. And obviously we know that he's not the biggest fan of NIL, not the biggest fan of the transfer portal, but again, makes a good point.
I know where I am. I know what colors I'm wearing. I know where I graduated from. Dabo has not been wrong on a couple of these issues. I hate to say it, no matter how you go back, he hasn't been wrong on it. He's such a goof that it's hard to take him seriously sometimes. You see him running full speed down the hill, or you see him,
the memes that have come from that have been
I mean, he's blessed.
fantastic.
He's blessed us with so many memes.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong on this. And the idea is that this is Preston. We're still using the word tampering kind of improperly because you can't tamper with somebody who's not an employee, right?
Sure.
So that's just a whole nother thing.
Not employees yet. They could be. They
now,
could be.
when they get to that status, then we can probably have some more enforcement on the concept of tampering. But as it stands now, as we're in this system, yeah, this is sort of the way the game has to be played now.
Yeah. And look, it's kind of similarly to before NIL was a thing. Look, we knew there was money being passed around, and we all know the story about Reggie Bush getting the house for his parents that he had to give the Heisman Trophy back for, and Johnny Manziel making $30,000 a month for signing autographs out at A&M, and Todd Gurley with his autographs at Georgia and all that kind of stuff. Like, these things were happening. They were just happening under the table. We talk about Tennessee and handing out money bags in the McDonald's drive-thru and bagmen out at Ole Miss, and the stories go on and on.
Oh, what a time!
And you what a time! If you chose to, you could plug your ears and pretend like your program, your favorite team wasn't doing that, but it was prevalent across the landscape of college football. And now all this stuff's become surface level to where it's out in front. We know that these players are getting paid. We don't know the number figures necessarily, but we know it's a part of the college football landscape. But looking at the transfer portal type stuff, and I think it was yesterday I was listening to you and Bill, and you brought up the point about like Max Johnson and the fact that or maybe this was somebody else, but Max Johnson goes in the transfer portal before it even opens, by the way. Last week announced that he's going to go into it. And before the portal is even opening, officially put his name in. Well, guess what? He's going to North Carolina. And I don't know if Max Johnson grew up the biggest North Carolina Tar Heels fan, but I imagine there were some other numbers at play. And like, hey, if you come to North Carolina, we're going to be able to get you this much money in NIL deals. And that is probably the crux of the matter of why he's going to be representing the Tar Heels starting next year.
As I repeated my favorite phrase from a coach that I heard, a coach that will remain anonymous, the phrase, "I won't call you, but I'll take your call."
Yes.
And so so you can always have plausible deniability. The way that tampering works in these situations is it might be the high school coach, it might be the uncle, it might be the cousin, it might be another teammate.
Sure.
It could be anybody, but we always say, hey, listen, I didn't have any direct contact with him. I don't know what anybody's talking about. But as you stated, there's no way Max Johnson just entered into the portal, or like Riley Leonard puts do not contact.
Sure.
Don't talk to me. Nobody talk to me. And then somehow he just chooses the school that he chooses.
Yeah, there's always a way around it. And again, it's kind of one of those things like, I don't really even know how you police that. Because if I'm a representative at a university, NIL, and I want to get you to come play for me, yes, I'm not going to call you directly. I'm not going to text you directly, whatever it may be. But like you said, maybe I know your high school coach. Maybe I know someone that knows your high school coach. And I just say, hey, Preston Thornton comes and plays for my school, Tyler Head University. He's going to get $1 million in NIL. Make sure he gets that information. Goes down the chain, you get that information. Information gets passed back to me. He's in. He'll be coming to you. Okay, now if we haven't had a conversation, you and I have not talked. I've not technically tampered with you, but you've got the information that you wanted. I got the information that I wanted.
This is not new.
It's not.
It's not new. Preston, I've been in a situation on the phone with a college coach where I just happened to be speaking to the coach on speakerphone.
Yeah.
And we just happened to be speaking about a recruit who just happened to be in my room at the same time that the coach was on speakerphone with me. And no, of course the coach wasn't talking to the player because he was talking to me on speakerphone, right?
Yeah.
Is that against the rules? No, because he
Sure.
didn't have any contact with the player directly. Was he saying the player's name directly out loud on the speaker?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, things happen.
Preston, make sure you tell Jimmy if he comes to my school, we can give him this, this, and this. But remember, make sure you tell him because I can't tell him myself. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. I mean, I've had that scenario. I've had another scenario out where a college coach was in the building. They weren't allowed to talk to the coaches. They weren't allowed to talk to the players, but they were allowed to talk to me. And so I don't know. You might have to call the player down to your room to pick up something to send to another teacher's room. And then that coach would talk to you as the player was in your room. And, just make sure your Tyler knows that if ever there was an opportunity, we'd love to have him here at XYZ University.
That's got to feel awkward for you
it's
because it's like, we know what we could be doing. You could talk to him directly, but instead they're using you as this channel. Like, hey, Preston, make sure you tell this person that's standing right there that I can give him this.
Oh yeah,
or he can do this,
it might not even be. It might not even be that blatant. It might just be like, oh man, PT man, we've had a great year, but our wide receiver room is pretty bare, and we just need to make sure that we get in some wide receivers, and we're looking for some. It would be amazing if we just could get like a 6'1", 195-pound wide receiver. You'd be like, all right, man, we get it. But listen, everybody who's involved in the ecosystem of college athletics understands that this is sort of how the game is played. So I think when Dabo's talking about the idea of tampering, he's talking about actual real money being thrown around where it's very hard to ignore that noise.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And again, it's something that has been prevalent in college football for a long time, but now that NIL has become a thing, it's become a lot more surface level. And, the means that people are going to make this happen, I don't know how you police it, because are you suddenly going to start bugging every coach's phone, every person involved with NIL's phone to make sure they're not having these communications in? Because that's how the rule is written, that you're not supposed to be able to talk NIL deals with a student athlete until they were officially at the university, enrolled in classes, all that stuff, because the implication was you don't want people making these decisions based on the money. Well, that cat's out of the bag. Toothpaste is out of the tube, whatever analogy you want to use. And I don't know how you reel it back in.
Yeah, that's not gonna. The only way you're gonna reel it back in is by broken record here, a collective bargaining agreement with the group representing the players' union, where they can put some guardrails in place. Because other than that, there's no other sector of society where you can stop somebody from offering another person money. That doesn't happen unless you have non-compete clauses based on employment status.
Yeah,
that and all those things are going through the court now. So again, as we stated from the 6 o'clock hour, things are happening.
Sure.
But until then, this is just the world that we're living in right now.
Yeah. And again, now, with this proposal from Charlie Baker and the NCAA that could potentially technically make athletes employees to the university and all that kind of stuff, that opens up a whole nother can of worms. Well, yes, there could be some serious ramifications if tampering does continue to persist, which I imagine it will if that does come to pass. And that's we'll cross that bridge when we get there, because there's a whole lot of, parameters to that and things that we don't know at this point in time of what that could certainly come to be. But again, it's something that's prevalent in college football, and you may not like Dabo Swinney, you may hate his guts, but it's a classic case of the worst person actually made a really good point, and Dabo did there.
He makes some solid points if you can just get past all of the extra around him. The dip on his chip. Remember he said, I got an extra dip on my chip. I was like, come on, Dabo. What are we doing?
That's almost as cringy as his first TikTok. Did you ever see that?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, I have to find it for you. It's about as bad as you think it might be. Dabo Swinney has very, very much ventured into like cringy dad territory, where just like, and I like all of his sons seem to play on the team, and you just kind of like put your head in your hands, like, oh, he didn't just say that. Please, Dad, you're embarrassing me. My friends are over. Please.
Yeah, he has no problem, but he was consistent. He is who he is.
He is who he is. 100% true to himself, and the people in Clemson are still tolerating that as of right now, except for Tyler in Spartanburg. Tyler in Spartanburg.
Big year for you.
I'm
sure that has to go. I'm sure it has to go very much to the top of your year.
I'm having quite a year. Yeah, that's definitely the highlight of my year. And I derailed Clemson's season for a couple weeks there. They actually started winning after that, so maybe I got him back on the right track. Unfortunately,
thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, my bad. Speaking of coaches people don't like, Jim Harbaugh back in the news once again as he gets set for a college football playoff push. Sticking around Ann Arbor? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. That's coming up. It is the early game. Tyler, Preston, and Ed Bird along with you on the game in the 107.5 The Game app.
Gotta take.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line.
Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
803-404 or 6100.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Hi, everybody. This is Woody Wyndham here to talk about Pioneer Tree Service, Guy Gant's company. Guy Gant's not with us anymore, but his girls are the Gant girls. You know, Chelsea and Madison. You know some of the things they do at Pioneer Tree Service? Tree and shrub removal, tree pruning and thinning, tree planting, tree bracing, raising tree canopies, stump grinding removal, storm damage services, property cleaning and grading, demolition and rock removal, right-of-way maintenance. You got to get in touch with these people. 803-794-8253. Let me give you that again. 803-794-8253. Call right now and get a free estimate. For the most challenging jobs, Pioneer Tree Service. So you're going to want to call somebody you can trust, and that is the Gant girls at Pioneer Tree Service.
803-794-8253. Or find us online at pioneertreesc.com.
Call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? I'm Dr. Mark Bentley with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged or boxed meals, no surgery, and no hypnosis, call my office now at 803-824-4210.
Columbia's Secret for Weight Loss changed my life. I've lost over 50 pounds. Not only did I lose fat, I significantly lowered my A1C in making better choices that are sustainable. Throughout this program, the guidance and accountability help create a pathway to a healthier, better me.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month. That's a half a pound to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 803-824-4210. That's 803-824-4210. Or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com.
Scott here from Traditions Fine Jewelers, announcing a special diamond event that you're not going to want to miss. We're celebrating the fact that we now have our own growing chamber in the largest lab-growing diamond laboratory in the world by having a Labaganza event this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, December 7th, 8th, and 9th. We'll have beautiful loose diamonds up to 12 carats. That's right, 6-carat pairs, 7-carat rounds, 8-carat ovals, even amazing 12-carat emerald cut. We'll have diamond studs up to 8-carat total weight and diamond tennis bracelets and necklaces up to 10-carat total weight. Best of all, we'll have diamond jewelry to suit every budget, with prices starting at just $199, and everything will be value priced with spectacular savings. We'll even have interest-free financing for qualified buyers. So come see us this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, get her the Christmas gift she deserves, and save big at the Tradition Labaganza event, only at Traditions Fine Jewelers in Lexington on Sunset and Sandhills next to the fountain, where the Midlands get engaged.
Plus, text entitled with approved credit card 866-243-4623 for details.
It's the most wonderful buy of the year.
You'll be singing about savings during the sale of the year at JT's Dodgeland and JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. 12,000 off new Jeeps. Your stocking will be stuffed when you save $12,000 on new Rams. Chargers and Challengers, 6,000 off. Get 2.9% for 72 months. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sCars.com. Wrap up the year sales event.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need a trust.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
Is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
All right, let's take another peek at the traffic around the Midlands for your ride in this morning. Still working a lot of the same things that we had from earlier. Happy to report the object is finally out of the roadway on I-20 westbound there out at Clemson Road. So you should be pretty clean to ride through that area. Still have the object in the roadway, though, out at I-77 northbound and Killian Road. That is at exit 22 and still working an accident at Killian Road and Faro Road that is just nearby. Other than that, everything looks pretty clear around the interstates for your ride in this morning. Hopefully it stays that way and can lead to a great Friday for whatever you have going on today. Taking a look at the weather, finally getting up to 40 degrees now, high of 63 as your Friday rolls along here on the game.
The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Shen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
It is the early game. Tyler Head, Preston Thorne along with you, Ed Bird producing on the other side of the glass for us this morning. We'll be back together on Monday as well. Is Bill taking a few days off? Jen going to be out for about a week right before Christmas here as we're all taking some days off. But as football finally starts to slow down a little bit, but the football news cycle never stops. Mm-hmm. And we talked about Dabo Swinney, which many around here do not like. And many around college football, not too fond of Jim Harbaugh with all the shenanigans, I guess, to say the least, that have gone on up there with the Michigan Wolverines program this season. By the way, is there any program happier about the Florida State situation this week than Michigan? Because nobody is talking about Michigan this week for the first time in a while.
How did we just magically forget that they had Inspector Gadget on the sideline, espionage, spying? We had all these magical things, and it's just like we just forgot about it
because we found the next thing to talk about.
Ah, there it is.
We got the next thing to be collectively angry about as college football fans.
We can point out, yeah, that's truly the biggest upset, that we just forgot that Connor Scallions existed.
One person didn't forget.
Scallions, my fault.
Your boy Drink. Did you hear what he had to say the other day?
I did. I did. And we was having the conversion of whether or not are we becoming Drinkowitz fans, and I think I always say I'm a fan of authenticity, and Drink is pretty consistently who he is. So I'm gonna have to lay off on that.
You know when like you want to be like angry about something, but somebody keeps like making jokes and wanting you to crack a smile? That's kind of, I feel like, Eli Drinkowitz. Like we want to be very like straight faced, like what a dweeb, what a nerd, I hate this guy. But then he says something like that, and you're like, all right, I'll give you that. That was pretty good.
That's kind of where I'm going at. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh back in the news cycle.
Back in the news cycle. This one for, I guess, non-negative reasons, as Michigan is working on a contract extension to keep him in Ann Arbor through at least 2028. They would have him paid $11 million annually, which would make him the second highest paid head coach in college football, behind only Nick Saban. My question, and look, he's made his third straight college football playoff, has yet to make it out of the semifinals. Is he worth that much quite yet? Has he earned that yet?
Yeah, he has. Well, again, $11 million is an outrageous number. Being that what the market is, though, he's made Michigan football relevant again.
He has.
And they want nothing more to be in as part of the conversation. And for so many years, they were an afterthought. So yeah, he's definitely worth it. And there's bar none. You can say whatever you want about him. The khakis, the drinking milk, whatever you want to say about him, he is an excellent football coach. He'll win. He wins at every stop that he's ever coached at. There's no problem. And I think as we go get into the story, I think that's sort of the issue with this contract here.
Well, that's the thing, is once again, his name is coming up with the NFL rumor mill, with the Chicago Bears expecting to fire Matt Eberflus at the end of this year, as they're going to be looking at the number one pick in the draft, which of course they have via the Panthers. But that's a program or organization that's looking for another head coach. And as we do every single year, I know he interviewed with the Vikings job a couple years ago before Kevin O'Connell got that one. Everybody points at Jim Harbaugh and says, hey, that's a guy we could drag back up to the NFL. He obviously took the 49ers to the Super Bowl and rubbed a lot of people in the process the wrong way. But again, you can't deny how good of a football coach he is. And for a lot of organizations, they'll say, you know what, forget the personal issues and all that kind of stuff. We want somebody that can win. Jim Harbaugh is somebody that can win.
San Diego State, Stanford, 49ers, Michigan.
San Diego, not even San Diego State.
San Diego, yeah. So, I mean, this guy's a winner. There's no doubt about that. He's weird. We get that. But the whole crux of this issue is Michigan's trying to say, hey, man, we're going to give you a lot of money. Can you please just say in writing that you're not going to interview for another job in the NFL? And he's like,
He's like, well, I'm not saying that or something to that
I didn't
effect.
say what I didn't say. I might not. Maybe that's like, man, just please put it in writing.
And, you know, if there were ever a year where he would have a perfect out to go to the NFL with he's been literally suspended for half of Michigan's games this year.
Which is another part we're dismissing. Dude is getting $11 million. He didn't even coach this year.
Coached half the games. Sharon Moore coached 4 of those games, I guess. He coached 1 of the games at the beginning of the season. Obviously, the last 3, and talking about his tearful tributes to Jim Harbaugh, who definitely wasn't dead at another time. But yeah, like he coached almost as many games as Harbaugh did this year. But yeah, looking at $11 million just to keep him there. And it's so funny how quickly things change. Like 4 years ago, they're ready to run him out of town. Like, you can't beat Michigan. You can't beat Ohio State. You can't get us to the playoffs. Like, I don't care that you're a Michigan man. We need somebody else. And they quickly changed that tune as soon as they figured out how to beat the enemy.
As soon as he beat them, then things started rolling, which maybe research might coincide with another thing that started happening 3 years ago. Connor Stallions, you know, we had to we can't ignore that is a thing. But the language that I've read, and I don't know whether this is official or sources, quote unquote sources say, but they were just trying to tell Jim Harbaugh, hey, listen, we don't know if you're going to go to the NFL in 2 years, but how about just next year? You put it in writing and tell us you're not going to the NFL. And he's like,
yeah,
I can't do it.
Why would I do that?
Are you going to give me the money or not? And
Right.
We probably will.
Ray wants to weigh in on the Jim Harbaugh conversation. Ray, appreciate your call. What's on your mind?
Hey, good Friday morning, guys. Yeah, you know, in Preston, we've all heard this saying, crazy like a fox. Meaning somebody's a little unorthodox. They got different ways, but damn, they come out on top. That's horrible. I mean, he's crazy like a fox. And I think, you know, all the national media, well, the FBI is on campus. You know, they've been cheating, Spygate, all this stuff. I'm telling you, he relishes in this stuff. And as long as he wants to be at Michigan and he keeps beating Ohio State, he's going to be at Michigan. But it's just, I mean, he really is. He's a unique character. He's like, I guess if he's like your coach, you might like it. If he's not your coach, you despise him.
That's exactly it.
But he is absolutely crazy like a fox. And he's one of those people that does weird things, but he thinks through everything. And when he was suspending those games, don't you know he was sitting back and said, man, I'm getting paid millions of dollars.
No, absolutely, Ray. Appreciate the call
I think
there.
Harbaugh's got them, but hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Ray. Appreciate the call and your thoughts there. Yeah, he's kind of like a football savant, where like outside of football, he's this quirky, weird guy drinking milk with his pizza and watching Judge Judy 24 hours a day. But man, you give him a whistle and a hat and a clipboard, and boom, he just turns into this like expert in all things football and one of the brightest football minds out there.
Yeah, and another aspect of Harbaugh, he's been one of the leading, probably the most vocal coach in vocalizing for player revenue share as far as the college football playoffs is concerned and as far as period. So for him to be winning, be advocating that position is again, he's kind of going against the grain and advocating for that so strongly.
You mentioned the winning part. If he was perennially 5-7 and they were losing to Ohio State every single year and, you know, not making bowl games, for one, he would no longer be the coach at Michigan, and two, people would not be talking about him in the same regard. But winning cures everything. I don't care how many games you get suspended for, how many investigations, the FBI, the NCAA, you know, the DEA, for all we know, on campus looking into things. As long as you keep winning, as long as you keep beating that team to the south below you, you're going to be able to have a job at Michigan, as long as you want it, unless he just decides, hey, I'm done here. Let's go back to the NFL.
Which all they're trying to say is, Jim, just put it in writing, please.
Please just give us the confidence. And he probably sits there with his arm crossed. No, I don't think I will.
All right, Jim, we'll still give you the money. I'm sorry. Please,
that's what I'm talking about.
Please coach our team. Or else we're going to have to go back to Brady Hoke.
Oh, no, not Brady Hoke. The program was a laughingstock under him that Harbaugh was able to resurrect.
That's all he's leveraging. He's like, look, man, you want to go back to that?
Yeah.
Or you want this? You want this or that? What you want to do?
We'll give you a tanker truck full of cold milk if you want it. Just please stay.
Yeah, man. But yeah, he's an average advocate for player revenue share. One of the most vocal advocates, and I think it's interesting that he's taking that. And I think that probably comes a lot from his NFL model,
sure,
where he's seen the benefits of that, where you can have a team and you can still have players sharing in the revenue that they're producing.
As quirky as he may be, he definitely looks at things outside the box at times, which can be good, especially when you're talking about things like that. But we'll see if he does decide to hang around in Ann Arbor for a little bit longer. Obviously not going to have the full slate of college football coming up tomorrow. We do have the Heisman Trophy ceremony, though, and can we go ahead and give the trophy to one of these players? I feel like, but we'll at least have a conversation about it. That's coming up. It is the early game. Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Ed Bird along on the other side of the glass producing here on your Friday on the Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny?
The noise. You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now.
The Powerball jackpot for Saturday is $468 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing. And for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Introducing Herndon Certified. Herndon Certified used vehicles are quality assured and come with our 60-day warranty, complete with nationwide coverage. Don't just buy a used car. Buy a Herndon Certified used car and drive with confidence, knowing Herndon's got you covered. Find your perfect pre-owned in-store or online at HerndonChevy.com.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile, smile.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most, like dinner with loved ones, letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at fepblue.org.
Get your home insanely clean with Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Call now to get 3 rooms cleaned for only $129. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you can get your hallway cleaned for free. Easily schedule online at ZerustColumbia.com.
Pete Wine Pool and Spa is your hometown hot tub dealer where sales and service go hand in hand. If you've been thinking about buying a hot tub, come check out our full line of hot tubs and explore the benefits of hydrotherapy, which includes stress relief and increased blood flow and promotes overall health and well-being. Models start as low as $5,000. Pete Wine Pool and Spa, 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find us on Facebook or online at PeteLWinePools.com.
Text entitled with proof credit call 888-320-6359 for details. Ho, ho, hold everything! Savings Clause is coming to JT's Kia. JT'll stuff your stocking with savings. Thousands off new Kias. Telluride Sorrento Carnival. Save thousands in interest. Just 0.9%. Dream of a white Christmas, but make no payments till spring. Get 20% more for your trade, up to $6,000. And if you've got coal in your credit stocking, come see JT. JT'sKia.com. Kia season of giving back.
The holidays are upon us. And all the people in your life need a happy place to come and be together. And? All you have to do is point. And all of your clutter, junk will disappear. And you'll have a big, open, happy home where you can get together with all the people you love.
Now I get it.
Out with the dull, lifeless junk.
In with sparkling, lively people.
We make junk disappear.
All you have to do is point.
Unleash the delight.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
The Game On Demand podcast menu.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, our team is here to get you better sooner. 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game in Florence.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
Time to take a look at your traffic around the Midlands for your ride in this morning. A few more things popping up for this drive-in. Do have an accident to report. This one going to be at I-77 and the Veterans Memorial Freeway. So be careful through there. Still have the object in the roadway. This one at I-77 northbound and Killian Road. Also still working the accident at Killian Road and Faro Road as well. Now look at the weather. It is currently 40 degrees here in Columbia. Going to warm up to 63 for your high today, 72 tomorrow, 70 on Sunday. Do have some thunderstorms coming through on Sunday, so be mindful of that as it gets cold once again at the start of next week. Listening to the early game here on The Game.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
I'm excited. You guys know, coming into this year, I went to beat the T North and win a Big Ten championship, and obviously I did not do that this year. So I think it's a great motive to come back if that's what I decide to do, because that's something I definitely wanted to do in my Ohio State career, and not being done that yet definitely opens the door for me to come back. But undecided, really just taking it day by day at this time.
Welcome back in the early game. Tyler Preston along with you for a couple more minutes. Ed Bird on the other side of the glass. That was the voice of Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, as Gus Johnson has affectionately called him.
Maserati Marv!
And I love the fact that now he's no longer with the program, but Ohio State fans took to calling Kyle McCord Honda McCord because, you have this luxury high-end wide receiver and this just decent, reliable quarterback.
A nice, solid, reliable quarterback.
A quarterback that'll get you from point A to point B, get you where you need to go. It's not going to be flashy, but it'll get the job done.
See, how could you not love college football?
It's so great.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
But Maserati Marv saying he's undecided on if he wants to go to the NFL or not, which, dude, he's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to make boatloads of money in the NFL. He's obviously got the pedigree of his dad where he's going to be fine at the next level. Now, I've seen some rumblings about what he could potentially make at NIL at Ohio State coming back next year. So maybe there's conversation to be had, but I think it's all lip service right now. I fully expect him to go to the league. But before that, he is going to be a part of the Heisman Trophy ceremony coming up tomorrow night, as he is going to be there with Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. as well. And I always appreciate when a non-quarterback gets the invite because, look, this has become a quarterback's award. And unless you just have an ungodly great season like Devonta Smith had a couple years ago at Alabama, which he absolutely deserved the Heisman, and I was glad to see him win that. You're not going to win, but it's at least cool to say, hey, I'm the only non-quarterback here.
Yeah, it is interesting to say. With that being said, so you get a chance to get dressed up and you go to the ceremony. Do you think he thinks he has a chance?
I think everybody thinks they have a chance.
That's how it works.
Again, if you've paid attention to college football long enough, and even like this year, it's a foregone conclusion. There's really not a debate, right?
I don't know. I heard you say that last break. Full disclosure, we didn't talk about it during the break. I heard you say that, and I don't know who you're talking about.
It's got to be Jaden Daniels, right? It can't be anybody else.
Yes, I guess.
You have a sense of doubt.
I do a little bit. Not because of him, just because the team. They weren't good.
His situation.
Yes. Situation.
Not that they weren't good, but they weren't college football playoff, SEC championship good.
They had a disappointing season.
They played in the SEC championship game a season ago.
To be clear, the season would have been way more disappointing if he wasn't there.
Sure.
He's the only reason why they had the season they had.
They might be 6-6, 7-5, or even worse if he's not a part of that team. But, you can't deny that he's maybe the most important player to his team, maybe not as much as Jordan Travis, apparently, to any team in the country. And, I mean, the numbers he put up were just ungodly. Like, yes, his passing numbers compared to Nick's and Penix are very similar, but I mean, he had a rushing season that there are running backs around the country would be proud of. 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, just an unreal year through the air and on the ground.
Do we even have that conversation? The Heisman moment. They always talk about that. Did he have a Heisman moment? Because with Jaden Daniels, in my mind, I picture him kind of being that gangly guy, just running and taking off and running away from people. He's had a couple of moments that were impressive.
And I'll say this, that was, I did have some doubt going into conference championship weekend that maybe if a Bo Nix or Michael Penix went out there in the Pac-12 championship game last Friday night and threw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns en route to a win, like, all right, that's a Heisman moment. Now we're having a different conversation, but neither one of them really did that when given that platform. And Jaden Daniels, while no necessarily moment necessarily sticks out for a particular single play, I mean, you look at the fact that in that the Georgia State game, 8 touchdowns against Texas A&M a couple weeks ago.
Wait, did you say 8?
8 touchdowns, 6 through the air, 2 on the ground. I think it was a program record. Had another 5 touchdowns against Florida the week before. 3 touchdowns against Alabama, where he got hurt in that game, and even in the games that they lost. So Florida State lost to Alabama and lost to Ole Miss. He threw for 346. 414 and 219 yards respectively. Again, the Alabama game, the last one, he got hurt, but he still ran for 163 yards in that game. So even in the games they didn't win, he still played really, really well.
All right, you've made the mark. You've convinced me.
Yeah.
It has to be that, because even when you said the other two, it was like, all right, cool. Bo Nix was very good, a little bit above serviceable in my opinion. Michael Penix, all right. Yeah. So as you're saying that, I think that has to be the answer. It's just they had a disappointing season.
Sure.
And I at least tend to think of the Heisman being on somebody who's on a winning team.
Yeah, and in most years, Bryce Young a couple seasons ago, Caleb Williams was at least in the mix for the college football playoff going into championship weekend. It's typically a team that's in that mix in early December. This just happens to be one of those cases where it probably won't be, but there are certain instances. You look back at RG3 winning his Heisman. Tim Tebow won his Heisman on a Florida team that I think had 3 losses that season. They played in the Citrus Bowl, so that was in between their national championships with with Tebow playing quarterback there. So there are instances where it does happen, and in most of the cases, it's just so undeniable how good that player was that we can't not give it to him, right? I think that's the case with Jaden Daniels.
Well, yes, I agree. But as I'm listening here and thinking, as much as college football as everybody listening, as we all follow, if you put Jaden Daniels in a lineup right now, I don't know if I could pick him out.
Yeah, he's certainly not quite the face of college football in the degree that Nix, Penix, even Marvin Harrison Jr. could be, where you're seeing them not necessarily in commercials and stuff like that, but promotions for games and things like that. The face, the name, you hear the voice, that kind of stuff. And yeah, maybe Jaden Daniels is a little bit harder to pick out in comparison to those guys.
I don't know anything about him.
He went to Arizona State before LSU.
Yeah, I do remember he was a transfer, but when I'm thinking about all these guys, I'm thinking about all these biographical things that I know about everybody else. I know Michael Penix, I know Bo Nix. I don't really know a lot about Jaden.
And Jaden Daniels really didn't explode until this year. And I brought this point up a couple times this week. It's actually kind of interesting when you look at his numbers in year 1 to year 2 at LSU compared to Joe Burrow a couple years ago. Joe Burrow's first year at LSU was fine. It was perfectly respectable, but nobody was talking about him winning a Heisman. Nobody was talking about him being the first pick in the NFL draft. And then he just explodes in his last year, perhaps with the greatest college football team of all time in 2019 en route to winning the Heisman. Kind of similarly with Jaden Daniels. His numbers last year were fine, And he obviously helped LSU go to the SEC championship game, but then he just explodes on the scene in year number 2 where nobody saw it coming.
Is this his last year of eligibility?
Yes. He's been around college football for a long time.
So a lot of these guys are old. I wonder what his future is going to be in the NFL.
You know, I mean, he's got the size. He's 6'4". Actually, he's only played 5 years, so I guess he could technically come back for a 6th year if you wanted to. But I don't know if you're going to best these numbers. You may as well go while the iron's hot, right? 6'4". He's a little on the skinnier side, which
he's definitely lanky.
Yeah, I mean, he's 210, but like 6'4", that's a little more evenly distributed. So would need to bulk up a little bit. But like the NFL has become a lot more adept to taking guys of different sizes now. So I think just given these numbers and his ability, the arm strength, somebody will give him a chance.
And again, who were the quarterbacks in last night's game?
Bailey Zappi and Mitch Trubisky. He's probably better than those guys.
I think he is. I
So
think you have a shot.
we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow and who does win the Heisman Trophy. I expect it to be Jane Daniels, but we do have some football as well. We'll see what else we're doing for this upcoming less football weekend coming up tomorrow. As the early game wraps up, coming up, it's Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Ed Burrow on the other side of the glass on the Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
The Game will be at the beach, in the PD, and the Midlands. That almost covers the whole Palmetto State. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Talk about marquee quarterbacks feeling the pressure on Sunday. That would be MVP candidates Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, whose teams go head-to-head with first place in the NFC East on the line. Other QBs under extra scrutiny this week. How about Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, and Joshua Dobbs? Well, they all wanted to play the position, so you got to deal with it. I'm Boomer Esiason. CBS Sports Radio.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus in President's Day. We're lawful to wager. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. First online real money wager only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 visit KSGamblingHelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Help is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
Hey, you're up next. My throat hurts so bad. There's no way I can sing tonight. Here, try these. Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Yeah, Vicks VapoCool Drops has maximum strength menthol with a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Ooh, I can already feel it.
I told you. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Vaporize sore throat pain fast with Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-485-6262. 800-485-6262. 800-485-6262.
The early game
With Bill Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Shin Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning, as well as coming up on Monday morning as well, alongside Preston Thorne, Ed Bird producing for us on the other side of the glass. Of course, we got another week to wait until bowl games go to full swing starting next Saturday. You do have the Army-Navy game coming up tomorrow, but for the most part, it's a pretty college football free weekend. You do have FCS playoffs if you want to dive into that, and kind of the first weekend, at least for most of us, on Saturday that you can kind of breathe a little bit.
Do we as South Carolina Gamecocks get a boost in strength of schedule because Furman has made it to the second round?
That
is there something? Can we somehow fit that into a campaign?
Now, like, we knew Furman, I believe, made the playoffs last year as well. Like,
we knew
they were a good program, and they hung around with South Carolina in that first half, made you sweat a little bit. So, if you want to hang your hat on that, I guess that's okay.
Listen, we're looking for anything we can.
Silver linings. But yeah, if you want to cheer on a local team in Furman coming up the college foot or the FCS playoffs tomorrow, the one or one of the divisions of college football that actually does a true playoffs, and if they do have a committee that kind of decides the wild card.
Isn't it amazing how FCS is like, we don't know how to do this. This is impossible to pull off, and they're just like,
yeah, it is.
We do this every year.
I don't know if Bill played the Mike Leach clip earlier on in the week talking about committees. We love being in committees. Hey, we can have some coffee and we can sit next to each other at dinner and talk and all that kind of stuff. Like, just a classic Leachism. And I mean, it's kind of right. I mean, if we look at how chaotic this week's been for, leaving Florida State out of the college football playoff. Do you think there's any chance Florida State just like no shows the Orange Bowl?
I saw, obviously, people say stuff on Twitter for reactions. I saw some folks like, and it might have even been Danny Cannell, but that's another story. But I think
it was Danny Cannell.
I think it was like, we should boycott. We should not even go to the Orange Bowl. It's like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, like, it's probably not going to happen. But if ever was going to happen, this would be the situation that would make it happen.
And again, that's cool if you want to make that to prove a point. But then you have all these players on the team that's like, what about?
You also miss out on the revenue of playing the Orange Bowl, which is also pretty important.
Exactly. And I'm here to tell you, a bowl trip to Miami. Some of those players are very excited. They of course they would have loved to have played in the national championship.
Sure.
But if we don't and we have to go spend a week in Miami,
I wonder what those swag bags are like.
Very solid. Orangeville does very well. And as I said, a week in Miami with a little bit of change in your pocket, 20 years old, you could do some damage.
Or swag bags like back in the day.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool, man. Yeah. We went to the Outback Bowl 2 times, and we got a lot of gear.
Y'all got the catered dinner like 2 nights before,
for sure.
right?
No, we you know what? We had a hospitality room where we had Outback available to us the whole week.
That's dangerous.
And it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of cool. You could just go down there and scoop stuff up.
Why are all my players overweight and lethargic?
So you go by the hospitality room, pick up some. They had like catered lunches, Outback, stuff like that. So that was a solid deal.
Damn, that sounds very nice.
It wasn't bad. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, blooming onions to knock down.
Enough.
They have the people walking around with the mascot things, like the guy dressed up as the blooming onion.
They had all. It was anything Outback you could get. We were on it.
See, now it's the ReliaQuest Bowl, and it's not
quite
the same.
Not quite the same.
I still refer to bowl games by their old names. Like, it's not now the Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's the Meineke Car Care Bowl. I don't care. The CarQuest Bowl, the NPC Computers Bowl. Like, I go old school with my names.
What about do we still have the Tostitos Bowl
the Fiesta Bowl. It's now
Yes.
the VRBO Fiesta Bowl, not the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, see, I'm like 2 or 3 bowls behind.
See, I love bowl names. I try and keep up on all the sponsors, but yes, I'm very nostalgic when it comes to my bowl names. So like the Birmingham Bowl, the PapaJohns.com Bowl, which I know a lot of Gamecock fans have not too fond memories of a very cold day out there in Birmingham years and years ago. So I like obscure bowl names and sticking to the tradition.
Yeah, but the Orange Bowl is not an obscure bowl. Those players will go down there. They'll enjoy it. Now, unfortunately, they have to play Georgia.
They do. Now, how interested is Georgia going to be? You're going to have opt-outs. Brock Bowers probably not going to play. Lad McConkey. Like, there's going to be, and Georgia's also a team that felt like maybe they could have gotten the playoffs and didn't. So there's a collective letdown on both sides. So, how many of these big name players are actually going to be interested in playing in this game?
That's a great question. I obviously with Brock coming off an injury, if anybody who cares about him would probably tell him, "Hey man, we appreciate your service."
I'll say this: I didn't think he was going to come back this season in general because I'm like, he's got nothing left to prove. He's won national championships, one of the best tight ends maybe in college football history, but he's resilient. He wanted to play and he played and was obviously helped Georgia win a couple more games. And we'll see if he plays in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Did you on Sunday, literally like an hour after the playoff committee announces their rankings or whatever, they announced the Orange Bowl, Florida State and Georgia, and then they get Norvell and Kirby on the Zoom call to do the meeting. Those guys wanted to be anywhere else but talking about the Orange Bowl. Like the fake excitement. Oh, we're so excited to go to Miami and play a great program. Like at least wait a couple days, right?
Again, you have to be. This is when you worry about if you're too online, if you've been spending so much. But there's 2 clips that was so funny. Did you see the Alabama clip when they found out that they were in?
Oh, the collective groan. Yeah.
When Alabama found out that they were in
20.
All you see is Saban doing golf claps.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, this is cool. And then when Michigan found out
15.
Oh, crap. All right, fantastic.
10.
Again on Monday morning.
Appreciate you.
Coming up next, the Extra Point with myself here on the game.
5.
It rolls along. It's going to be a busy weekend. While there is no football, there is plenty of great basketball to listen to right here on the game. Men's basketball team in action coming up tomorrow afternoon at high noon as they look to get back on the winning track, taking on East Carolina. Pregame coverage starting right here on 107.5 The Game at 11:30. And again, the tip coming at noon against the Pirates. Women's basketball team in action taking on number 11 Utah out at the Hall of Fame Showcase up the road in Connecticut. That coming up on Sunday with pregame coverage starting at 2 o'clock right here on 107.5 The Game. And then the tip-off for that game coming up at 12:30 as the women's basketball team looks to stay perfect on the season as, again, they try and get back to the Final Four. Exciting time for basketball all around here on The Game. And we'll get you all your coverage here for this upcoming weekend right here on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Sponsored by Canty Foundation Specialists. Cracked concrete, sinking foundation, or need new gutters, Canty can fix it. It's that time of year. Are your gutters getting clogged with leaves and pine needles? Never risk getting on that ladder again. Canty Foundation has the best covered gutter in the industry. Visit them at cantygutters.com for more information on the gutter shutter system or call today for a free estimate.
Welcome to BreezeLine, where next level internet speeds mean next level productivity. Don't let slow internet slow down your game. Kick it up a notch with a game-changing offer of 1 gig fiber fast speeds for only $59.99 per month. Terms and conditions apply. Go to breezeline.com to learn more.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, where saving is always the name of the game. The lowest price, guaranteed, or they'll pay you $1,000. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable
comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. How? By distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com. Just how does a car repair shop last in business for over 50 years like Summit Automotive? By providing affordable, reliable, and honest auto repair. But if you ask them, they'll tell you it's their loyal customers who come back time and time again to entrust them with their car repairs. Well-trained technicians, service packages, and monthly specials. Isn't it time you became a customer? Give them a call or come by at 1410 North Millwood Avenue or make an appointment at SonithAuto.com.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
All right, let's take one last look at your traffic around the Midlands for that drive-in on this Friday morning. Still working that accident right there at I-77 and Veterans Memorial Freeway just off of the interstate there, so be mindful if you're going through that area. Outside of that, still have that accident that we're working at Killian Road and Farrow Road as well. That one's still showing up. And going out a little bit to the west side of things, have another accident at Old Cherokee Road and Old Chapin Road as well. So 40 degrees in Columbia, high of 63 today. Hopefully what can be a nice Friday for you. You're listening to The Game.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Hey, this is Gamecock catcher Cole Messina. You're listening to